Right back. Read lesson. My name is Nasuke, grade student teacher, the master teacher, Dr. Malakaziyo. Zikeyo. Gonna start off class with our pledge. Akrahe Shalava no spots. Nakukra Hunta Yuande Wu-Sabat. Shalab Pasa Pura Musbat Shabat. Wakum Musa, Sahek Wu-Sabat Wu-Masa. Karesa Ho Rako Saho. Akum. Saho Fahu. Lahek Kalel Zahot Dahu. Kareb Jamus Saho Nakush. Pledge allegiance. I pledge the pledge of a Sabian. Pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat of the United Sabian tribe. One family under serious and Orion. With correct right knowledge, knowing right wisdom, right understanding. For all right overstanding with sound, solid, right reason. That, I'd like to say welcome. Welcome to everyone that's here today, and welcome to the family that's online. I know I haven't been here for the past 2 Sundays, right?
Yeah, you do that thing, but you know I still love you. I still got love for you.
Alright, so yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can start a class of questions. That's the best thing to go. So we are the used to be what we still are. The Numadis or Sabians, right? Sure. Students about another culture, Ziyok, and we just had to give people on what the truth. Our culture is based on sound right reason, or we deal with 3 things: evidence, experience, and reason, right? And we try to, anything we try to teach, we try to have it within those confines, because when it's in those confines, it can come out to be what people would term as a fact. Evidence to prove your thing, evidence, experience, and remember, experience is not always relative, right? Because, for instance, let's say Martin Luther King exists, right? But to our children that's born in this day and time, right? They don't have the experience of Martin Luther King, right? But we know that there's records, there's evidence of his presence on earth, right? From videos, from books, you know what I'm saying? And other elders who are here today could say, I know, I seen him in the civil rights movement, right? And of course, reason, or sound right reason. That's oftentimes people think when we say sound right reason, we say it's sound. Not sound which it is, but reason. Within anything we teach has to reason out. So with that, any questions?
Yep, we have a question from Zamal, Linwood, William, Rabat.
Robert.
Yes, I was wondering, Cat Freddy God, smiley face, with Sabak Yao and Wu-Sabat. What were you wondering? You have a question? Type it in, good brother. Rabat to you. Type it in. All right, nothing yet. Again, Rabat, and welcome to all of our Musa online. If you have questions, go ahead, type them in, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. I have some back-on questions. There was a question from Sunroth. He was asking, what did we know about the craft that's supposed to be coming? And he gave a date, November 1st through December 5th. I guess that's the date they have in the article. I haven't seen it.
It's 1 year. Like this year?
Yes, will be coming up now, 2025.
That was an update?
No.
How do you call it this craft? You know,
People said the craft. Yeah, the craft. I don't know if it's been in news articles or what, but he's asking about the craft. Yeah, if you find something, yeah, let us know. I have a couple other questions that we'll hit on the back channel unless if you got a bill. Okay. All right. You good. All right, this is from Zamal from London. Asardum Nelson says Rabat, pray all is well with you. Question. how do universes form? And he's referencing action, fact, existence, how and why. Can you explain how the universes are formed?
There was a time when the master would tell us that we were forming air pockets in the universe, right? So you'd say that, and air pockets is just to say spheres of the universe. And he would give pictures in certain scrolls where he show you balls, because universes are intertwined with each other in the universe. So how are they formed? So you gotta understand what the word universe means. The word universe means what? Uni is made up of two words. Uni and what? Verse.
Verse.
Well, uni means what? One. And verse is what? To go against. So universe means against oneness. You know what I'm saying? That means no separations, right? So if no separations, what are we talking about? All. So the universe is birthed from all. All is our concept of what a religious person, they have the, what do you call it? The dogmatized version of the concept of all. So a person would say, I believe in God, right? And that God, to them, is the ultimate source, right? But we know that the God concept is inside of something. So if you guys are religious, you say, how is the God's concept inside of something? Well, don't most religious people say God is in a place called heaven? So to us, we would look at the heaven concept as all. And a God, right? Whether his name is Allah, Jehovah, whatever, that will be the all, right? So this universe that we live in right now was birthed because of a bang, right? You were talking about the original Big Bang that occurred, what, 76 trillion years ago, right? And this bang was the what? An explosion that occurred that gave birth to multiple galaxies. And we live in one of the galaxies right now. So you're talking about explosions of suns, right? And when a sun explodes, it hurls off into space and gives birth to planets and other galaxies. You know what I'm saying? So this one universe that we're in is called what? Our constellation. What is our thing called? The Milky Way, right? So that's our universe. Now most people don't realize that there's other universes next to our universe, right? Or next to us, or intertwined with us. You know what I'm saying? And they're right next door. So you have many universes. So we'll say when it's more than one universe, you call it what? A dual verse, right? And if you got more than two, you got three, you got a triverse. Right. And if you got a whole bunch, you got the multiverse. Right. So all of them are all different vibration coming from the source that we call all. Yes.
Is there a difference between the omniverse and all?
The omniverse. The omniverse is to deal with all the universe of the mind. So the fact that it's called an omniverse, right? That's a thing that can be, meaning it's an aspect of the universe. Because we just saying all of it together. So I wouldn't compare, I would just say that still is a projection of all. You understand?
All right, we have an online question. Zamal Linwood. He says, his question is, what about all of our Muisar who transitioned and did not master the language and did not get the secret from Mao to and so on?
Well, we stop.
It went to the hot box?
Now, everyone is on a different spiritual journey in the culture, right? And depending on where you at, only you will know where you truly at, right? In your own being. What did you do while you was given information? So all of us is given information at different times. Some of us was given it when we was children, babies, and some of us is given it when we was adults. So depending on each individual and how much information they took in at a certain time, and if they learned about the planes and things like that, or if they tried to master themselves while they was here, that would determine where they would go after here or in the hereafter. We know ultimately everybody transitions. Modern people call it death. We know that you don't die. The physical concept or physical composition of your body decomposes when you get to a point of decline, because everything is at a point of rise and decline on the planet Earth, right? Even the season itself. When we in the summer, This is the birth season. Then it goes into a deck, or so-called deck, but we call it the winter season, right? So just like with humans, we go through the same thing. Humans go through life and what they call death. When a human is true life is what people call death. You say, what? True life is what people call death. How? Because if you ask a person, do you believe in life after death? Most people, what they're going to say? Yes. But the moment you said yes, you're confirming that this is death.
Like
Right?
after death.
Life after death.
Right.
Because this is death. How is this death? Well, from the day that you're born, you're dying. You're born as a newborn child. And as that child grows, that child is getting closer to what they call death. Right? So, if you was a person who was given information and you adhered to it, right? I'm talking about right knowledge, not just any information. Because any information that you take in your mind, it will determine where you go in the hereafter. Why? Why do I say that? Because the one thing that you have, that you're always going to have, whether you live in the physical or in the etheric or the spiritual, is your mind. And your mind is what? Spiritual. How do you know? Show me your mind. Most people go, no, that's your brain.
Right now.
The mind is not the brain. You know what I'm saying? The brain utilizes the mind, right? And we all are connected. We all can be connected in this whole concept called the mind because we all have access to it. You know what I'm saying? So, the fact that you still have your mind, that means that if you're a person who got Christianity as your religion, you're given a concept of what happens when you die, right or wrong, in Christianity. You're given a concept that if you do good all your life, you're going to go to a place called heaven. If you do bad, you're going to go to a place of fire, right, where you're going to burn for eternity. That's what they teach you, right? Called hell. In Islam, they got the same concept. You got a place called Gehenna, right? And then you got the other place, right? Both is the same concept with heaven and hell. So what happens is, if a person in their mind feel like, I did a lot of bad, and because I did bad, I'm going to a place of hellfire. Well, that masterful mind that you have, that powerful mind you have, will put you in your depiction of hell or your depiction of heaven. And that's the plane of existence on the other side that you'll go to, or in a certain mind state. However, there's still laws, just like you have physical laws on this side of the universe, where if you break the law, the physical laws over here that man didn't make is stuff like gravity, right? Gravity says what? Everything gets pushed down on this side, right? Right? So what happens is, if you jump off a roof, you're going to go down faster, right? Humans, as we walk, we're being pushed down all the time. And most humans who are very tall, they're more affected by gravity than people who are shorter. You know that. That's why they have a lot of knee problems. You know what I'm saying? So on Earth, there's a law of gravity. There's a law of attraction. There's a forces that hold together the atoms that hold together your cells in your body. You know what I'm saying? So now, those are just laws in the physical. Well, there's also laws in the spiritual or the etheric, right? And those laws is this. Every person who came as some form of spiritual master beyond religion, right, or older than religion, they always had a concept that the root to suffering on earth is what? Desire, right? Desire. Because the things that people desire is the thing that's going to put them in a hell state. How? I said when you die, the one thing, or when you transition, the one thing you always going to have is your mind. So check this out. Imagine you transition in your physical form and you never did no spiritual exercise. And now you don't have the physical body and you are now a spiritual being. Could you imagine what you're going to think as a human being that was physical the whole time? Hunger is going to be something you remember. So you're going to be an etheric spiritual being who gets hungry. That's going to be a form of hell to you because you are still with the same mind. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to have the same mind. Why? Because there will be no purpose of telling people about heaven and hell if you don't have the same mind. Because if you didn't have the same mind, you have to remember, I did wrong, so I have to go here. Or I did right, and I'm going here. Another thing, attachment to your loved ones. There's people that you love, but you don't know how to communicate with them on the spiritual while they're in the physical. You know what I'm saying? How do you do that? You have a son, you have a wife, you have family, you have a mother that you want to communicate to on this side. You can't communicate with them because you don't know the mechanism or the means to do it. That's a form of hell for you. So what is really heaven and hell? A state of mind. That's all. But based on what you was taught, that will affect you in the spiritual. So if you was a person who knew about the language, because some people transition and they never knew we had a language, right? All those people to be punished because they didn't know we have a language? No. So that's not going to be something for them to overcome on that side. Someone will be over there as well, because you have your ancestors on the other side as well. Just like you have your ancestors on this side. When a baby is born on this side in physical, isn't doctors or midwives and parents there waiting for them?
Yeah.
To help them in the physical. Well, on the other side is the same thing. When you transition, right? And if you're properly calibrated with your ancestors on the other side, then they're automatically there waiting for you on the other side to help you in the etheric or the spiritual. You understand? So, but for those of us who know certain things, the more knowledge you have, right, can put you in a state of hell because of your non-application of it. So if you was taught as a Sabian, there's 9 planes of existence. This right here is the material plane. To get out the material plane, you got to overcome desire. But while you're on the material plane, you're never doing no exercise to overcome desire. You're not fasting. Fasting is a form of overcoming the body's need for food. So to say, okay, when I fast, I'm now controlling the body. The body is not controlling me. I'm telling it, listen, we're only going to eat when that sun goes down today. You know what I'm saying? Or we're going to do this for a couple of days. We're going to do this only on liquid. And you training your body to say, listen, I know you're growling, but you're going to drink this tea. You know what I'm saying? And you do it to help your body. But this, while you're doing it, you're also disciplining the physical.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when you transition to the other side, you're going to have to be disciplined to know that you don't need that as a source to energize an etheric body. Food on this side is to energize a physical body. You know what I'm saying? But if you transition on that side, on the spiritual side, with these same mental constructs in the etheric realm, then that would be a state of hell for you. So the people who transition, who didn't know the language, who didn't know certain things, they won't be punished, for lack of a better word. Because you only are punished for what you know. And the punish is not from a person, it's from yourself. Because of the things that you fail to do. That's going to become a form of hell for you on the other side. So when you're looking at us on this side, we have a master teacher who gives us information. And we call him a master because even when you go to school in the physical, when a person goes to school and say, I want to be a biologist, don't they go to regular school for 12 years? Then they go to, if they want to go further their education, they go to college, right? And when they go to college, if they want to become, say, a biology teacher, don't they got to get their master's degree in biology?
Right.
So the same thing over on the other side. There's masters who got their master's degree in the etheric side of things. And some of them are born on the physical to teach and raise up people over here, because guess what? Your ultimate destination inevitably for everyone is what? You're going to die. Everyone is going to, and I don't like to use the word, but because you don't really die. You transition from one state of existence to another state of existence. And if you're not prepared for the another state of existence, that will be hell within itself for you. Understand? Hope that answers your question.
All right. Any questions in the room without another one online? All right. This is from Zamal Don Murray. He says, Raobat.
Robert.
In Master Secrets number 30, can you give a little information about the 13th disciple being Mary? Do you have that one? Master Secrets number 30, life, wife, death.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Explain that.
Well, it says she's the 13th disciple.
Yes.
What page?
I don't know. We didn't get the verses. Zamal Don, love you. We need those verses so we can get to it a little quicker. All right. It does. He's saying, can you give more information about 13th disciple being Mary?
Yeah, I'm not familiar. You are? A lot of the scrolls come out at a later time. So even with that, there's a concept. We're talking about Mary, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, we talk about hereafter doctrine, right? And Mary is what? Religion, right? And if we talking about disciples again, we back into religion again, right? So, if you can find it, I'll best try to, reason what it says.
All right, if you could, Jamal, just give us a verse so we can read it for everyone as well, and then we can answer the question. You got that one? You got that one?
What did that was?
Scroll.
No.
Okay.
But I could try to find the first one, see, and move on.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Solid that. Yep. Let us know if you can find that verse before they send it. Hey, all right, appreciate you. He said, okay, I'll look for it too. So the race is over. Okay. All right. No more questions online right now.
Mary the 13th. Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we know that Jesus had 12 disciples according to the scriptures, right? So I never heard of 13. Being Mary. But she did chill with the disciples, though.
Yeah, she chill. All right, there's nothing online that can monitor. We can go back to the other question. There's a few from my brother from London, so let me go back and find that again. All right, so you answered the first one. The next question he had was, how's the universal law? Okay, the next question is, where is Pa Makuzet Forum?
In the Baron Connecticut.
All right.
So we have to understand that when we have our baptism tonight, right? That is the organ or the gland that used to produce or secrete what we call makuzet.
Here we upload that. Ish make a mice. Okay. You see mo? Everybody I'm Lisa. Yeah. Okay.
All right. You can. The rest of that will back on to see body keys and.
Nah. And then I'll go back to the other course lead after that. Unless there's questions in the room.
Okay. So I'll just read this verse. It says, as I explained to you, this is going back to the 13th disciple. As I explained to you, his physical body changed. This is also found in the Gospel of Barnabas, where it says Jesus changed his form to look like the gardener, and the gardener looked like him. And it was so well done that Jesus, 13th disciple, his own wife, did not know if it was him. You spot it?
Okay.
But he wants to go.
Yeah, there's a little more information how she was the 13th.
According to the Bible, she's never referred to as a 13th disciple. However, if you're talking about from that quote right there, right? We know that if you believe in the Christianity, we know that Jesus wasn't crucified, right? If he existed, that character was never crucified. Now, how did we know? By using the very book itself. He used the Bible and proved that he wasn't crucified. You know what I'm saying? I'm even working on something right now. All right. So the fact that he wasn't crucified, there's different accounts to what happened when he so-called died. So what you'll find is that in the book of Matthew, Luke, and John, they all have different accounts of what happened at the day after his crucifixion. And each account is totally different. Present, one account tells you that Mary Magdalene came to the sepulchre.
Right, that's
with,
right.
With Mary, mother of Salome and John, right? That's like in Matthew. Then another one in Luke tells you that Mary came with a whole bunch of with spices, and they went to the sepulchre and the stone was moved. Then if you go to the book of John, it tells you Mary came by herself. And that quote right here is referring to the book of John. And the book of John, that's John's son of Zebedee. remember when we used to be in religion, we used to only ascribe to only certain books because we understood that certain books are relative and certain books are not relative. Why? Because the time it was written, who wrote it? You know what I'm saying? Were they a disciple? Were they close to Jesus? Right? And if you go according to the story, you'll find that Matthew is considered a disciple.
Right.
Luke is not a disciple.
At all.
Paul is not a disciple, right? So if you go to certain quotes in the scriptures, it tells you who are the 12 disciples, and it gives them by name. And John is one of the disciples as well, not John the Baptist, John son of Zebedee. You know what I'm saying? So he was considered the beloved of Jesus, meaning his close friend, right? So when you go to the book of John, you see where Mary of Magdalene came by herself this time. When she came by herself, is a quote in there in John 20. It's John 20. In John 20, it talks about how she came there, and an angel. She came there, and she said, "His body is gone. I don't know. They must have took it and put it somewhere else." Now stop for a second. It also says in there that they didn't know about the resurrection in John 20. It was in John 20, verse 21, and right 20-21.
Yeah.
And it talks about how they didn't know about the resurrection because the resurrection story was not really given to the disciples or her, Mary of Magdalene, right? So what happens is when she went to the tomb, they said the body was gone. Meaning she went there, the rock was moved, and nobody was there. But his shroud, his linen was there. This became the whole shroud crap, right?
Yeah.
So that was there. And since that was there, what happened was she was saying, "Hey, they moved the body." Then while she was weeping, a man came to her and said, "Hey, excuse me." And she was ignoring him. Then he was like, "Mary." She looked, saw it was Jesus. Now this is the day after the crucifixion. How did she look up and see it was Jesus? And he told, and she was like, "Oh, Rabboni, master." You know what I'm saying? And she was about to touch her. He said, "Hey, don't touch me." He said, "Don't touch me, woman." He said, "Listen," because he was hiding. That's why it says he was in gardener's clothing, right? So he was disguised, right? So now he told her, he said, "Look, listen, she's happy, she's excited." So he said, "Mary, chill out. Listen, what I want you to do is go to my brethren, tell them I have ascended."
Yeah.
He told her to lie. Isn't that a lie or not?
That's right.
He said, "Go to them and tell them that I have ascended." And that's what most people don't even go no further in the story. After that, she ran back to the disciples and told them what he said. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really know what she was talking about, nor did they believe her. You know what I'm saying? Then later on that night, Jesus came himself to them. Guess what? They did though. They started talking to him. They're like, "Yo, you know what happened to Jesus?" The disciples are talking to Jesus, saying, "Do you know what happened to Jesus? He was killed, he was crucified, and they did this to him." And he was like, "Oh, what fools you be to believe." That's a quote in the scriptures. He's talking to them, telling them, "What fools you be to believe," right? And then eventually he said, eventually he started to express to them, "It is him." He's like, "Look at my side, look at my hands, and look at this." And they start to realize, like, "Oh, it is you." And it was glad that he was still there with them. You know what I'm saying? So her being the 13th disciple was just a concept of a female that was there extra, that was there at the end as well with them, or what people consider him, because he didn't really die from crucifixion. You know what I'm saying? In the real story, he lived to 120, but that's a whole nother concept, right?
He says, "Thanks for the clarity. I just recently got a hold of the scroll and read it. Never heard of a 13th disciple. Tom Tack from Mars." So got that for. All right, any questions in the room yet? No? All right. I have another question coming out of Existence, How and Why. And Alzamar is asking, how was Shambala and Akata formed? And he's referencing that, no verse, just coming out of Existence, How and Why.
So they wasn't literally carved out. These were areas that was already there for millions of years. Certain people knew about it, because even the term Shambala and Akata, we always like to let people know that we didn't come up with those words. There's a man that was a part of the Navy. I think the name is Admiral Byrd, right? And Adelberg is a Caucasian from the Navy. And if you look him up, you can look up his name.
Right.
Even the drawing of Shambhala came from his books, because he was one of their Navy men who actually got the chance to go down to Shambhala. So these caverns, these are natural caverns that was already there for ages. And then over time, certain caverns were actually dug out and made, but those caverns been there naturally over time. And of course, we know that that became the home to many extraterrestrials that don't come to the surface, right? And different extraterrestrials have their own cavern inside of Shambhala, whether it be the Telos, the Danakios, the Telos, the Duanyas, and the Shayuk, which is the Riskians. So different beings, or the Danakios, the big hydrocephalite beings, they all have caverns in the earth, and then some people are descendants of them on the surface. That's why some people on the planet Earth have huge ass heads, right? That's a mixture of, right? Those are mixed. That's a Donatio mixture. Some people are very hairy on the planet. That's a shaggy mixture, right? Some people do have the cone heads, and some people have their children and they shape the head into a cone.
Yep.
You gotta say why? Because their ancestors probably linked back to the tails. You know what I'm saying? Some people are related to the Deros. Those are people over 300 pounds and they can still walk normal, right? So it's different type of beings that's in Shambhala, which is in the earth, and they made many movies about it. What? Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah.
All these movies are put out just so people think that it's fake. And they teach you that the whole, and some people say, how could it be a cavern in the earth when the earth underneath is full of lava? That's what it'll tell you, right? But if you go back to the drawing of Shambhala, right, and Nagahata, you'll see that the lava that people talk about is in a specific area. The whole inner earth does not have lava in it. You know what I'm saying? And those are stuff that's out there, that's been out there for years.
There's nothing else online at the moment. Oh, yeah, a question right here in the room. Okay.
You can ask questions.
My question is about the whole concept of us being being tailless apes, and yours having tailless apes. Gene I thought we do not, or are fight apes. So I got we didn't have enough pieces. So could you explain, please?
So I'm going to say this. Whenever the master teacher gives the information, he gives it correct, but it may come out, it be interpreted wrong, right? When you go back into our ancient history as Africans, for lack of a better word, right? Our story of creation had nothing to do with primates. You understand? We don't come from primates. We're not primates. You can put us next to a primate and you can do the whole comparison. Black people are known for their big lips, right? For sure. Right? Have you ever saw a big lip monkey? No. Black people also are known for their afros. Have you ever saw a monkey with an afro? No, you got fur. You understand? When you shave them, what color are they under that skin? Besides the black face ones that people might say, that one is y'all. No, shave his skin. Shave the rest. He's bare. You know what I'm saying? So that's not us. So what happened is, over time, this planet was always used for different extraterrestrials to always come to this planet.
Right.
And because they used to come here, certain extraterrestrials wanted to create or make their own offspring on this planet. So what they did is oftentimes they would use the seed of the ancient people. Well, those ancient people was us. You understand? So in their records, they're now calling us what? Homo Naladi. So they would go and take prehistoric man, which was us at the time, and mix it with other things. They'll mix it with a primate, right? And you probably would get an offshoot that have fur now. You know what I'm saying? Where you get your what? Homo. We got the Homo habilis, that would be the Africans. Then the Homo naladi will be the Dravidians. You know what I'm saying? So where the Dravidian strand come from? Because what happened is the Dravidian strand is a strand that got mixed in. Why they got fur? Because you had to use a fur animal to create that mixture. Because they didn't originally have fur, because they was from our seed. You know what I'm saying? So, when you talk about aquatic apes, in truth, the way the master had taught about aquatic ape beings, if you go back to scrolls such as the 9 ball, he started telling you about, he introduced you to the number 9, to the number 3, and to the number 6. When he started introducing you to the number 6, he talks about what? Evolutionary beings. We're not evolutionary beings.
Right.
When you look at the word evolution, most people say evolution is what? To evolve into something better, right? Well, we don't teach that, right? We are the masters. So we would say evolution is the slow decay of a universe. That means it's the death of something. So if you evolve, right? So for us to evolve, today we evolve into what we are today, meaning we're no longer the original Tallheads that were small, little people, 4 feet 5 inches, 5 feet 4 inches. We're no longer them. But by mixtures, right, we evolve into taller people today. So what happened? The death of the original, we started becoming bigger. You know what I'm saying? The mixture of monkeys and apes like that is with other species of people on the earth, who some of them did evolve from the waters. You're talking about 17,250,000 years ago, a certain strand of monkeys did evolve from the waters, but it wasn't us. You know what I'm saying? That was your Dravidian types, right? And then from their seed, then you had certain other beings, extraterrestrials, such as the Pleiadians and the Anunnakis. They started to tamper with genes on Earth, utilizing the monkey, utilizing the dog, utilizing the pig, right? And utilizing some of the Pleiadians and Anunnaki genes to make certain strands of Caucasoids, or what we would term in the scriptures as the Adamites. You know what I'm saying? So it's not us. The only reason the monkey gene got in our genes today is because of what? How? They raped our women. They raped our people. And when they raped our people, their genes started being in us, and we started producing offspring that doesn't look totally African no more. Right? So most blacks today don't have genuinely African features. They are mixtures. You know what I'm saying? They're mixed out. And I hate to see when sometimes we have our blacks who call themselves Latinos today, right? And our blacks who call themselves just regular blacks, right? And they will all look at each other and go, "You're not me and you're not me." No. That's two black people whose genes got mixed out. That's all. And who speak two different languages. Because even today you got parts of Africa whose primary language is Spanish. In Africa. And if you look at North Africa, most of them look like Latinos. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we're one family and all of us are mixed today. And because we're mixed, those mixtures is how the ape or the monkey gene got into our DNA. But originally, it was not mixed with apes or monkeys. And we didn't evolve as no apes or furry type of creatures. In fact, when you go back, our ancient ancestors didn't even have hair on their bodies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Our story goes back to reptilians, right, called the Abduats. Right? And these Abduats, those are our ancestors, and they were more so reptilian sea creatures or sea beings or say beings, right? And these sea beings are the ones that was living in the seas and that eventually evolved and came out. This is why we connect our story to what? The dolphin. And scientists will tell you that the dolphin is more related to humans genetically than any other species on the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we would tell you that the genes of our ancestors was put in the dolphin and transported here from other places, whether it be Sirius or Orion, and brought to the seas of this kind of. And then we germinated like that, eventually coming out on land. So the monkey thing has nothing to do with this.
You're right. You're very good. Word about it, right? I'm charged right now or something like that. All right. You ready for another question or? Yeah. All right. We got 2 online. Go back to the first one. It's from Sun Ra. He's asking, why is the government hiding the existence of extraterrestrials? And why don't the Luciferians want black people waking up? So you got two questions right there.
I would say that it was a time when the government was hiding it. Now, and the reason why they was hiding it before is because they didn't want to cause what? Fear. Because they knew that they was in contact with extraterrestrials since the 1950s. You go and look up spacecrafts around the White House right now, just Google it. You'll see that they have many articles since the 50s, 1950s, of extraterrestrial spacecraft around the White House. We know that they've been in contact since them times.
That's right.
In these modern times, just before recent, they still kept that going where they like to act like extraterrestrials don't exist. Yet, they come out with, and how they do it is they come out with cinemas or movies. And through movies, right? If they start putting a Grey or a Shaggy in a movie, right? What's gonna happen when you, a person, encounter with these beings for real? And say, hey, I saw one of those Greys before. They look at you like a joke, because they're like, yeah, you watched, well, you probably saw Mr. Grey, the movie or something. You know what I'm saying? Because we know you ain't seen no damn alien. Right. That's what people try to do. So they try to downplay you because of that. But they don't tell you how they got the image of these beings. Because if these beings do exist in the universe, how that image came about? You think it came up from their mind? No. There's people who was abducted, right? And there's many abductions that happen. And some of these people, especially the ones who had, let's say, narcolepsy. When you got narcolepsy and you get abducted, oftentimes, not even narcolepsy, it's the people that can't really sleep.
Or insomnia?
Yeah,
Insomnia.
one of those type of people. So what happened is this. Those people who don't sleep like that, when they get abducted, what they found is that these people was able to remember their abductions, right? And because they was able to remember their abductions, what they did is the image that they would tell them became the drawings of the graves and things of that nature that people see today. You know what I'm saying? And there was many. I think one of the first cases of extraterrestrial was a black and white couple. Forgot their name. Right? It was a black and white couple.
Barney and he had something.
Yeah. So they became the platform for extraterrestrial to be real. A black and white couple. You know what I'm saying? Because they saw it, they was abducted, and they told their story.
Right.
Now, many of those images I said come from these people who was able to tell them what they remember. When extraterrestrials started realizing that, they stopped abducting people like that. Because they wanted people to what? Forget their experience. You know what I'm saying?
It was Barney and Betty Hill.
But there you go. Barney and Betty Hill.
Yeah. Tat, Jamal Tat, and Jamal Alex Hall. They listening.
Okay.
They typing. Good one. You know, right?
So,
I mean, a movie about
yeah.
Oh.
I lost my whole train of thought.
So I get ready here, get the image out of their mind, so then we get
Right.
because you won't say something like that.
Know what they asking though?
Why does the government don't want black people waking up?
Okay, yeah. So now, in these modern times, right? They have extraterrestrials are being seen rampant
Yep.
in this modern time.
Yep.
They even have what you call it? They have a UFO thing where they actually watch for UFOs. Then they call SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, right? And it's funny, it's called SETI, S-E-T-I, and Set is an extraterrestrial Egyptian god, right? And they use that to say we're searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. Now, what they like to do also is they created many agencies. Some are built in the government to look for extraterrestrials, and guess what? The same government have agencies that's built to debunk it at the same time.
Right.
You know what I just said? They have the same government. Your job is to debunk what I'm going to say. So that way you keep the humans on the planet confused, and they get to what? Choose a side. The ones who want to believe it, and the ones who want to listen to the debunks. Because when a person see a spacecraft, but the news article will come out and say, just a hot air balloon. It's nothing much to say, right? They have all these things to do. So, and these same people work for the government, because they got Project Blue Clip, and many other projects that was before that. And you can look them up. Extraterrestrial projects that was put together and played by the government. You know what I'm saying? So now, in these modern times, many people are seeing extraterrestrial, and the government themselves have released a lot of extraterrestrial information for the public to go and see for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So in this same time, they're not hiding no more. What happens is, so many people are religious and don't really care that it's not becoming rampant. You know what I'm saying? However, we know that Dr. York been saying this since what? Since the 60s. Since the 60s about extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
But now it's out there. And like I said, the government they literally have what you call it, meetings about extraterrestrials and revealing all the records that they had, keeping from the public all these years.
I have another question online. Zamal Linwood. He says, calculated God. So, the Etherians don't automatically come to us Sabians when we transition, or is it our bloodline ancestors?
When you transition, your ancestors who can be Etherians, because remember, when we say Etherians, we're just talking about an energy being in an energy form, right?
Correct.
Because all of us right now, we're physical, but we Etherians as well.
That's right.
Right? That's why we call ourselves non-ether. We're saying you're 9% Etherian, correct? The rest of that, 91% is a physical being, right? When you get on the other side, you become 100% Etherian, right? 99 plus 1. So, yes, your ancestors do meet you as Etherians or as spiritual beings on that side. Now, it's best to make a connection so that you know what you're dealing with. Like I was saying earlier. Remember, going into the spiritual realm without no knowledge of it is just like taking information from someone who's very good with their words. What I mean by that, a person could be so good how they speak that they could be telling you a lie, but you believe it because of how convicted they sound and when they telling you that they could run circles around you as a regular human. Extraterrestrials, a baby extraterrestrial who probably knows nothing but what a baby knows in their extraterrestrial planet, right? In another dimension, and comes to your, let's say they come from a 4th dimension, right? And they come to your dimension. That baby could run circles around an earthling because the earthling can't even explain the 3rd dimension, right? And this person coming from a 4th could run circles, right? What you call calculus that we probably learn in college, they probably learn that in kindergarten. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it be. What's another part of it?
He was just asking, why don't Etherians come to Sabians as soon as they transition, or is it the bloodline ancestors that come?
It's the same thing. And I was saying that you exist before blood. You exist before blood. Blood is a physical thing, right?
I got another online question from Zamal Milton. He says, Rabat family, I hope all is well. My question is, how does one live the human experience without depression when you know there's more to one's existence?
Everything that we do, right? Depression could be a serious thing. And it is serious, but what you have to know is that it's a mental thing at the same time as well. And anything's about knowledge. You're talking about us with this human experience and knowing what's going to come or knowing what's going to happen. It's really sticking to what you know. Because here's the thing. If you believe something and you hope for something to happen, then you don't know. And since you don't know, then you could probably be in a state of depression because you don't truly know. That's like being in a religious state of mind. But if you do your spiritual experiences and make a connection with a family on the other side, then it's easy for you. Because if I know that I have a parent that transitioned, and I know that from the time that let's say my father transitioned, from the time he transitioned, I've been talking to him ever since. And that's been over 10 years now, right? Now, if I'm talking to him and he's like, yo, son, when you come, I'm here, you know what I'm saying, I'm here with you. Oh, what's going on? Oh, that person right there, don't trust him. What? You know what I'm saying? Your family members can actually let you know when you make a connection on that side, especially if you're not spiritually in tune in the physical. Now, could you become highly spiritual, in tune in the physical? Yes. But it takes work. It takes spiritual exercise. It takes discipline to get yourself to a point where you're so calibrated that you are mind linked with other humans. The only way another human can say, I can read your mind, and does, is because they mind linked. Right? All minds is still using the same concept. And when you're able to link into the mental, that's a plane of existence. When you're linked into the mental plane, guess what? You're linked into all minds. And if you're able to do that while you're in the physical, then you can do a thing where read people's minds. Because all you're doing is vibrating on the 4th plane right? Which is the mental plane, and now you're able to extract thoughts from people or hear their thoughts. We have spiritual exercise so that you can learn how to see with the third ear, hear with the third ears, right? Because you know you got your physical eyes and you got your spiritual eyes. You got your physical ear and you got your spiritual ear. Oftentimes when humans talk to each other, they work off of feelings. Feelings is not facts, but it's cool. It gives you a little inclination, but because it's not a fact, your feelings could be wrong, right or wrong.
That's right.
You could feel like this is a bad person, and then the only time you want to listen, and Baba say, "That's actually Rama, Ego. Him, I don't like this nigga." Baba's telling me that is him though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the whole point is when you're on a high level, you're not just feeling, you know. That means a person talks to you, right? A person that's highly spiritual. When a person talks to them, right, what happens is this. In the physical, when a person talks to you, you know the only thing you're receiving is words, right? But when a person is high spiritual and a person is talking to them, guess what they can hear also? Thoughts. A lot of times people hide their thoughts behind their words. You know what I'm saying? They're saying one thing with their mouth, but feel something else inside. Roll back, brother. Inside, I hate this nigga. You know, this is a good brother right here. Oh, can't stand. I think he knows everything. But they still doing on the forefront like, hey, how you doing, man? You ain't saying it.
Yeah.
That goes with like hypocritical stuff. But once you highly spiritual, you can hear their thoughts. And it's no longer a guess. It's not a feeling. You know. You ever watch Superman and he able to hear everybody's thoughts? And to the point that he go crazy if he didn't know how to control it?
Right.
That's how you could be. If you really could hear people's thoughts. I can hear people right now online like, who can't crazy now? But that's the whole thing. When you do your spiritual exercise and you really tap in, you're able to get on that higher level. And when you get on that higher level and really can function like that, the truth is you're going to be hurt, right? For what you thought. Because you probably like this brother or sister and found out they don't really like you. Right? Mm-hmm. And to be a master and not to say nothing, just leave it how it is, that's another level, right? Mm-hmm. You think Baba didn't know who was going to get him locked up before they did it? Mm-hmm. You think he didn't know? So he's an Ethereum that didn't know that someone was going to turn on him? It's not a situation where he says, brought people in the room, just like the Bible story, say, you know, you want to betray me. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that to a particular person who did betray him, right? So he knows. So when you get to that level and you really know, it becomes lonely.
He told us that before.
Right?
Exactly.
It becomes lonely now. Because now, trust me, you can tell a person that you know what they're thinking. They're not going to admit it. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's some ill thing. Mm-hmm. They're not going to admit it. They'll be spooked out. They'll like go home like, this not really that much. But at the moment, they ain't going, no, I'm really talking. I do like you. What are you talking about? I bought your fucker out. Just to throw it in the garbage. And these are the stuff that Baba tried to teach us on a minute level to get over. When you read books like the Patlaks, that's really all about self-development. Developing yourself. The fact that a man have to keep on saying, stop backbiting, stop slandering to adults is sick. Right? That's kind of sick, right? And trust me, what's the mission? What's our mission? Ain't our mission the same as him?
That's right.
To raise souls up? And what? Prepare them for the hereafter? If we're trying to prepare for the hereafter, how do you find time to hate each other? That's supposed to be a part of the same mission. That's sick. That person is literally sick. But they don't think they sick because they can spit a few doctrine out their mouth when they feel like it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how much you can teach, how much you know the language, how you said, right?
That's right.
For some people, it would be best that they never even encounter Wu-Sabat. Just leave. It's simple. It's easy to live in the world and pretend that we don't exist. It's more fun, too. For the people that's listening, go ahead. Parties are fun as hell. And all you drink and smoke is fun. Just stop blaming us. Because that's not our way of life. Just live the life that you choose. Be real with yourself. If you're a crackhead, be a crackhead. But we ain't crackheads over here. That's not our culture.
That's right.
Right? But don't try to hide behind a banner of what we do And then in your own time, you're doing crazy stuff. And front when you come around. Be you all the time. That's the whole concept of walking in the light of the sun, as if all to see you at all times. I mean, be who you are. If you say this is who you are, be that all the time. Whether people can see you or see you not. You understand? And if you have things that you have to get over it on your own, personally. That means if you're a drinker, get off of it on your own. Don't expose your children or anybody else, because guess what? They're going to follow you if they see you doing it. It's hypocritical to tell a child, don't drink, and you drink. Don't smoke, but you smoke. Come on, that's foolish. That's hypocrisy, right? Or don't slander, but you at home on the phone slandering other Sabians. But you just told your child don't do it. Your children don't learn from what you say to them. They learn from what you do. And they always watch it. We have a concept that says, we look at each other, the next who look down on us, and who look up to us?
Sure.
The children. And really, this is about the children, the next generation, right? So we have to be the best example for them, so they can have an example to say, our children supposed to be like, see that teacher right there? Or see this my mother? A little girl should look at her mother and say, I want to be like my mother. Because she's an upright lady, she's a righteous woman. A young boy is supposed to be, I want to be like my father. He's a righteous man, he's upright. You know what I'm saying? And he's not pretending either. Because I live with him. And we know how children will check you. Our children know that you're a fraud. Because your children is different from other people. Remember, you could be a millionaire, but your children will still check you. Because other people will see you as a millionaire like, that's Michael Jordan. I ain't going to play him. You know what I'm saying? He might give me a rack or something, right? But your children, Michael Jordan's children, not going to hold back. Like, Dad, you're a fraud. You said that, but you know you really do this. Right? So we really have to really step into what we really about and live our culture and be that. And what Baba said, he said, this is the school of the angels. I don't know if y'all remember that class. So what he's trying to do for us here is teach us the likeness of an angelic being. Because what are we? We say Sabian means what? Come from Sava in Hebrew, right? What that mean? Sam? Host. Right? So the heavenly host, right? What is the heavenly host in the scriptures? The host of God is the angels, right? Nuwapo, the Wapi. When you go to the Holy Tablets, it says the word Nuwapo means to convey a message, right? And it must be a receiver and a conveyor of that message, right? But what does the word angel mean in English?
Messenger.
Messenger. So a Nuwapian is a messenger, one who comes with a message. A Sabian is an angel with a message. What's our message? Right knowledge. Wu-Sabat. Right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding that will lead you to what? Sound right reasoning. That's our message. We the angelic beings on earth to help raise up the people. You know what I'm saying?
Any questions in the room? I see y'all. No? Okay. All right. We have another more line from our Zamal, Elijah one. He says, Robert Zamal, he prefaced it with this: with the government being in contact with extraterrestrial beings, if we are the root race or original people, why is it so little contact with us as a people versus them dealing with the government? Wouldn't that type of interaction not benefit us? So that's two questions.
Okay, so we got to understand that the type of extraterrestrials that linking up with the government is they're into what? Power. So they look at who's ruling the planet, right? And most of them are the Draconians and the people that work under them, the aliens, Taurians, different beings, right? So they go for people that's in power in order to cause problems on the planet, whether it be for abductions. They may need a smooth transition to abduct people. Because you know at one time, America used to shoot down spacecrafts. You know that, right? They used to shoot them out the sky. And they have spaceships right now that they study for years, to the point that they start making their own. That's why when people see flying saucers, those are actually made here, because they work from the ones that they found, or they knocked out the sky. So our ancestors do come to us, but they're not the type to go to the government. They're the type to be born on earth through a woman, through a man, and raise up as a Ilamutajesi. And that will be Dr. Malachi Yosh, right? That's one of them that's here with us right now, trying to wake us up to realize that we too are extraterrestrials. You know what I'm saying? And we also have a job to do. So it's not about looking outside there. Remember, he told us your ancestors, right? They're not coming. They're already here inside of what? Each and every one of you. So you have to wake up the deity inside of you, and then you make your connection.
Right.
Because once you make your connection, what people call spirituality is no longer a word to you. It's a reality. Because if I tell you a story about my dream that happened, it's just a dream to you, right? But for me, it's real for me. But if I start going out and trying to make my dream like, yo, yeah, noon told me this, and I go out and tell people, most people are not going to accept that from me. Because what? The spiritual journey is a what? Lonely path. Most people's not going to believe you. They're not going to accept you. But what happened when we all are in tune, for real, and we all can mind link, right? And when we all mind link now, I no longer have to use my words to say I'm linked in. I'll just telepathically communicate, and you'll know what time it is. Bob had talked about initiations one time. He said you got the regular initiation on Earth that people go through, whether you've been OES or whether you're the Masonic order. But then how the ancients used to do it, they used to give you an initiation, right? And the only way the initiation wasn't physical. It was spiritual or etherically, right? And then most people won't remember. But if you do remember, then you're in the order. You know what I'm saying? So your subconscious mind is where they do an initiation at. You know what I'm saying? Submental. So, yes.
Years ago, could you explain how I know what he meant then is the same thing now? How we, as a people, especially the Wapi savings, to learn to open our senses of eternity.
I've opened our senses, talking about like the six. Okay, so when talking about the senses, we're talking about the outer chakras. That's our term for chakra, right? So the Hindus use the term chakra, we use the term outer chakra for now until we get an update, right? So what happens is this. We know that we have certain glands in our body that's activated at a certain point. But to activate those glands, you have to do spiritual exercise. You have to learn how to meditate. You have to learn how to discipline yourself, right? Through spiritual practices. When you learn how to do that, the first thing you have to do is overcome the lowest seat. What's that? The carnal.
Desire.
Yeah. So when you overcome that lower seat, that's the threshold for going into the next level. And guess what? When you're dealing with the chakras, you're also dealing with the concept that he taught us. He told you that we live on the physical plane. And he said, on the other side, you have what? On the other side of hydrogen is what? H1, E1, E2, all the way to E9. He said on the physical, you got H1 all the way to the 9th element in the physical, right? Well, once you overcome that first chakra, and you can overcome your desires, that means you're no longer desiring things. That's everything. That means you don't have desires no more, right? That's hard for humans. You overcome that, then you raising yourself to the next chakra. You know what I'm saying? And then when it keeps going up, you finally get to the point of the crown or the brow seat, right?
Yeah.
And that will now activate what? That pineal, which is the third eye.
That's right.
And that will open up your whole being.
Right.
And we know that they teach you how much chakras there are, how much outer chakras there are.
They say 7.
7.
Yeah.
Well, we say it's how much?
9.
So we have 9 because we 9 deep the beings. We know that the 7 is in the physical body. You have the 8 and 9 that's above
Yep.
the crown, right? Because that's going back into the ethers now, right? And these 9 are synonymous to the planes of existence. Because how much planes of existence are there? 9. There's 9 planes of existence. Each of your chakras is linked to those 9 abodes. Now, how is those abodes made? Through moods. Moods and vibration creates the planes of existence. Well, same thing. The different modes that you are in your own body is going to help you to raise up your chakras. But you have to learn how to meditate.
Yep.
You got to learn how to eat correctly. Because guess what? You still got to take care of this physical vessel. This is a vessel. And we have to take care of it by not trying to destroy it while we're in the physical. Right? And those of us who, he give you exercise in older books where he says, look, I'm going to show you how to take your physical body with you to the next plane or leave it behind. Right? But nevertheless, you still have to utilize those centers. Because those centers all connect, have an etheric counterpart as well. Because the shell that you see we have is nothing but what they refer to as the morphogenetic form or the morphogenetic field. Right? Which we as Nagaros have. And because of every race being different, their pattern, their morphogenetic pattern will be different, so their chakra or their outer chakra level will also be different. So like I said, to activate those seats, which some people call the kundalini, which is the wrong term, right? Or if you want to raise those seats of light, you have to do spiritual exercises to get to that level. That means everything that he taught us. We have a scroll or update where he says, this culture, he called it the third eye sight.
Right.
What does that mean? I mean, this is the place where you learn to activate your third eye. We don't wear the jewel for no reason. We wear it as a symbol of the third eye, but we should also be in practice of activating it. Because once you activate it, then you'll be on another level of communicating with your ancestors on the other side.
Sure.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to pass the class to my brother, Wu-Sabat.
See your person, please.
Oh man, well bad, we saw. What was that phrase you said? Walk, you say that? Walk in the light of the sun?
Oh, walk in the light of the sun, as our Oxy at all time.
All right, so it's in some of our scrolls, right? And many people have learned to quote it. I have it, that's why I asked. But the point I'm making is, it's actually levels to that statement. So when you talk about the physical level, walk in the light of the sun as if all can see you. As Masamar Capri was explaining, that means conduct yourself rather in the presence of others or you're alone. But that means all physical people. That's one level, that's the physical part. But what about the esoteric side of that same statement? Walk in the light of the sun as if all, or Pakut, can see you. Before you even get to Pakut, let's go to just the spiritual part. Walk in the light of the sun as if the all-seeing eye of Wu, Reyetat, Wu Reye, can see you. That's why in the beginning of the statement, the master teacher says, walk in the light of the sun, Reye, as if all can see you, the all-seeing eye. So we have to understand the principles and the essence of the guidance that the master teacher gives us. He doesn't make statements lightly. For those of us who are not linked in or not putting in the work to literally link in with him, we only hear the physical side. And you're like, well, I hear you, but when I'm alone, nobody can see you. Well, you see you, right? Aren't we a four-part being? You have the physical, you have the spiritual, you have the soul, and you have the mental. So all is seeing you. You see yourself. When we take these statements, these lessons of guidance seriously, as we should, we'll go not just overlooking and think we're being slick or sly. That's a morbid mindset, to think that once I'm behind a closed door, all eyes is closed. That's not truth. And as Masamar Capri was saying, we know that that's not true, especially if we have karate. Because they see you, you might as well call them all. Because they see you when you don't see them. They hear you when you don't know they're there. And they know how to steal snacks when you're not looking. Because they have mastered moving between the tick and the time. We've outgrown that because we've been on the planet so long, many of us, that we've actually slowed down the certain heightened senses that we had, which is moving between the tick and the top. How? Because that is another form of existence that higher beings do. And our karate, when they come here, they're coming from the higher planes. So they still have a lot of that residue until we slow them down with the physical practices and dictates that we actually force on them in the name of being parents. Forgetting again another statement that the master teacher Bobby Anun gave us, which was what? Your children come through you, not from you. You are not the originating force of this entity. This little extraterrestrial in your house, right? So we have to learn to take what we know seriously and not just grasp onto the words. The master teacher teaches us, again, before I take the question, I know we have it, but the master teacher teaches us that we are what? Cosmosians. That was the term, right? He said, and if you're not, you must make yourself into one. If you can't, or if you don't, because we mentioned decisions, if you can't, or if you don't, then what? These are just words, words, words to me. You can have all the books, you can memorize and it sound convincing, but if you haven't convinced yourself, you can't convince nobody else. It'll sound good, you got a lot of reasoning, but it just ain't that. So we have a job to do. The master teacher has what? Nazula, come down, or been sent down by beings of his majestic grace to raise us up to the level that we can do what he's doing. Not what he's trying to do, not what he's attempted to do, what he's done for even us. Many of us, he's already done it. So now it's our turn to repay that favor, to replicate his actions. Why? He's showing us how. He's literally showing us how to do it. But how many of us are listening? How many of us are courageous enough to activate the patar, the divine eye? Are you scared to look into the higher realms and see beings looking at you to make the first statement we start off with all the more real? We have a job to do as deities. What? Want you to come or acknowledge that you are a deity. If you tap into that higher self, then you have a responsibility to do certain things. You can't shirk that. You can't run from that because what? All sees you. Do you have any questions?
It is from Milton.
Yes.
Milton Rich.
Wrong back.
Is suffering on this physical realm a punishment for past existence? And if so, how does one break the cycle?
All right. So, again, you look at things like depression or suffering, a lot of that is self-induced. Some of it is by way of outside or external properties that affect you and can depress you, or things like that, or suffering. Or look at the word punishment. Who's punishing you when you're going through that? Who has the power to literally punish you outside of what being incarcerated and things like that, or a law that was broken? So when you're down here and you're coming through this incarnation, or this physical experience, and it feels to you as if it's a punishment, some of that can be something that you didn't do in your previous life cycle, right? So now you're here living this cycle. When you ask how can we break the cycle, you must find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you live your purpose. And as that means you're now gathering data that will allow you to get out of here and not have to return. So that's how you break the cycle. Not get caught up in the experience that you're calling a punishment, but see it as what? An opportunity to overcome something that you didn't do last time. Because if you had to return or recycle, 9 out of 10, you're not going to remember what you did wrong the last time. So when you see these things that seem adverse to the way you want to live, look at yourself and say, should you be living that way? You have to be thinking about what is the true meaning of me being here? What is natural nature? What am I doing that is in line or aligned with what I need to be doing, not what I want to do, right? As Mazamal was saying earlier when we talk about what's the hardest thing to overcome, it's the lowest state, the carnal state. That's what? Desire. Now, another way to look at it is how do you overcome desire? There's one desire that you can't have. I'm not trying to entice anybody. I'm like, what are you talking about? Desire, we're trapped again. The one desire that you can't have, or at least look into and try to implement, is the desire to not desire. You feel me? And if your desire is not to desire, once you realize you no longer desire, you don't need that desire. You actually graduate the school of desire, which will be your visible and invisible change to this plane. So we have to really, it's like within us is the intellect. We have to be brave enough and courageous enough to unlock the intellect, no matter what it reveals to us about us. Because if you really love yourself, you must love the correction that you need to make. You have to look at this, what you're calling a punishment, again, as the opportunity to correct yourself, to perfect yourself. Because we were created as perfect beings. Others introduced imperfection to us, and we gravitated to it. On some form or another, we accepted that we were not perfect, right? Like you had different sized ears and all that. Those are elements on the physical plane. As an etheric being, you are perfect. You're perfect. And if you want to find that, you would look into, you already know I'm going to it because that's one of my good ones. And on top, find it, would be Master Secret Series number 10, The Cycles of Life and Death, which ties into the question, how do you break the cycle? So in this particular scroll, it goes into the cycles of life and what's being termed death. We know what energy beings, but we're using it for conversation, the word death. So now, when you go to the back of this scroll on the last page, and I was saying that our etheric selves are perfect, is when we get here and someone teaches us we're not perfect. When they say, oh, look at you, you tied your shoe on, you're thinking it's imperfect. If the shoe don't come off, it's perfect. If you didn't trip, it's perfect. Even if it didn't and you corrected it, correction to perfection, right? So verse 241, the master teacher Baba Yanun says, your etheric being as nine ether is a perfect being. And once you cross over, you begin learning all there is to know. So knowing that, accepting that about ourselves, how can we be frustrated? When you know that there's more to you that you may not even become aware of that, which is all a part of that conditioning that we have to shake off and get back into what? The conditions of consciousness. And they are ever rising. As you spiritually develop, you rise. And mental continence and nothing else. And if the mind starts to solve these problems, there's nothing physically that can stop you. Nothing physically. So Zamar, when you say, you know, is suffering or depression a part of a punishment, only if you allow it to remain so. It is an opportunity to look at yourself honestly and learn that certain things that you need to change about yourself, about those that you're around. If you begin to vibrate a little higher than those, and we're just using terms like you vibrate a little higher, meaning that your vibration is more rapid. That can happen physically too, because the faster your genes are, the darker the complexion. But we're talking about the mental part and the spiritual part. When you begin to develop and the vibrations start to speed up, the frequency raises, going back to where it should be, there's certain people you cannot be around. That's all a part of the change, which is constant in this and all other universes. So when you start to say, I feel a certain downside when I'm around XYZ people, that's because you are going through what's called a dimensional shift, which is at its root mental. So when that starts to take place, you have to remove yourself from that environment where you're like this, and then when you come around certain people, they bring you down. That's because they see that you're going up. And we're using down and up, we know it's just about expansion. But when they see that you are moving away from the vibration, they say, yo, the vibe is different. Because everybody want to cut stuff short. Everybody want to take shortcuts. Nobody wants to say your vibration is different. They say your vibe is different. I'm not vibing with you. The word is vibration. Okay? The word is vibration. And it sounds cool when you say vibe, but know the meaning behind that. When your vibration shifts as an uptick, you begin to, you might not notice it, but you begin to think faster than those you're around. Why is that? You didn't all of a sudden become intelligent. You were always intelligent. You're just accessing the portals with which you can now implement that in your thinking and your conduct. So when it comes to something against about, I'll pose the answer on this. When you're talking about suffering and depression, those are also constructs of you, because you are, as your understanding that you're a limited being, you're putting constructs up. These are walls that you found. You create these barriers. When you begin to knock those barriers down or move so to a higher point, you merely step over them, the suffering stops. And if you acknowledge each achievement, mentally or spiritually or even physically, if you acknowledge each of those achievements, then how can you be depressed about success? I pray that answers the question. So you can break the cycle by finding your natural nature, your true purpose, accepting that, and living your life on the physical realm from that moment that you accept it forward. And to live out that to your best life. Our own being, how they say in the rec is whatever. I mean, live your best physical experience so that the journey or the leap to a spiritual being is almost seamless. All right? I pray that answers the question. Yeah, your questions.
What about the teaching of Chateau Nato?
All right, so what is this teaching, Elder? Tell me that. Like, what is?
Well, I want to know, how do I learn the language?
Okay.
what I think I should do is get a pamphlet and write all the words
That's
and try to memorize them.
right. You're talking about our labors, we about to. Okay, the first thing is what you've already done. You know what I mean? You come here consistently and get the scroll. When you're reading the scrolls, that's the I want to say Hamem Magas or Hamem Sha'ads, which means black magic. That's what happens with us. When you're reading these scrolls, you do have the English, but you also, the master teachers also put in words in our language. That's what you do. When you find a word that's in Ms. Bhatia, you write that down. Write the meaning of it, and then like you said, just go over it. You do more to memorize it, because the reality is you already know it. You're just remembering it now. So if you don't say memorize it, you will learn it. It becomes more natural to you. Write it down, say it to yourself, or find other who saw that you can actually practice it, bounce the language off, right? And the beauty of that, you, me, anybody else in here, y'all are watching, if we all did that, if we all say, you know what, in this scroll I found 7 words, and you come to me and say, Sabah, I found these 7 in this scroll, I give you 7 that I found in my scroll, now we both have 14, right? And if we all study that, what will happen is, when we have children and they have children, if we give them that as a program or something to practice, we'll all begin to look alike. Not this generation, but the ones to come. All of our children will begin to look alike. Why? Not because we're intermingling, that is the best route physically, but because when we pronounce the words in our language, our facial movements are the same. It's a universal thing. I know to say pa, pa-ut, you know to say pa, fa-ut, right? So we start learning our language, guess what? Our children would do it. All their friends will do it. And then when they have children, because of the facial structures, genetically, that's when you get that what's the word? This, I know the word, but it's something maybe eugenics, or where you can actually change the way you look. Women can do it more readily, they shapeshift. But as us, if we all had to form our mouths, the jaw muscles, the cheek muscles, the eye movements, if we all have to do that when we say the words, it's no other option but for us to begin to resemble each other. And then, of course, we have to close ranks. Because again, when you begin to vibrate at a certain frequency, those who can't will resent you for it. And they will try to keep you from going there. So we have to close our ranks insofar as we need to gather around all of those who think as we think. So there's no opposition in the thought patterns. Why should our children feel like they're less than because they don't celebrate these unholy days that they call holidays, right? We have to give them something to replace that so they don't feel that. But we wouldn't even have to do that if all our children were together. Whatever we did would feel normal, right? How do you think our children would feel if whenever they came around other children, they all had on the guard, or they had on the mid-style for the men, and the braid, the feminine braid. If all the little feminines had that, your daughter would not feel out of place when she went anywhere else, because she know the majority of the time, or the majority of the people that she was around, it looked like her. Right? But to address your question, yes, you're doing the right thing. The scrolls that you have, make the list, right? And when you come here, when it's just a few of us, say, hey, I got this word. Let's say it together. How does that sound, right? I don't know if I gave it to you, but I will give it to you. The YouTube website for the chants. That way you could hear the chant, hear the pronunciation, see it written in Ms. Bhatia, and also see the English colors. So now you begin to, your eyes will go to the Ms. Bhatia. If you see it up, you'll know what it means. So you're not translating it, you're just saying it. You feel me? Through that. That's how you could do it, all right? I'm going to answer the question. Yes, about that.
We were on this subject, and I actually came across it today, where Baba was talking around update. He was saying, when we speak our language, our genetics will change, and you are physically changed by the vibration and tones you use and how your mouth is shaped and as formed to speak the words. And I said, look at other races that speak different languages and see they look different. When you take those same races and watch them pick up an American tongue, you'll see how they physically change.
Right.
So he was saying that our language literally changes our genetics and it changes our DNA.
That's right.
If you look at someone from India, for example, they come to America and have to learn to speak English, and they form sounds and words differently, and it begins to change them. Right. So they even begin to look different. Indians here look different from the Indians in India.
Exactly.
He said that our language is changing us, and when we have children born and raised speaking our language, they will look different. Our children will be born different.
That's right. So I wasn't lucid. You pretty much said
That was
verbatim.
15 years ago.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So we should already have a generation that's starting to look alike. They should already start to sound alike, right? The feminine have their side of the scale of C, and the masculine have their side of the scale of C. However, they still will look alike, and that's what anybody that's not of us, when they see us, they go, "Oh, those are sapiens." Irregardless of the clothing, but the fact that the facial feature, the DNA, what happens is we resonate at the same, so we begin to all collectively look the same, think the same. So that's how we have to do. We have to get around people who have the same mindset as us, right? And then once that happens for a consistent and continual amount of time, you'll start to see that. Everybody will know who we are, as opposed to us having to have classes, which is a good thing, having to propagate, which is a good thing, but we also have to do that interning work. So we all have social time, all bookstores of it. If you don't have a bookstore near you, but it's enough, if there's more than two Sabians, y'all need to gather, right? Learn each other's idiosyncrasies, learn the likes and dislikes, learn how we can collectively move as one. There is the power. All right, I pray that answers the question. Tower tap for that. Do you have a date for that update?
2012.
17 years ago.
Yeah?
All right.
August 28th, 2012.
So those who have the updates, please refer to the August 28, 2012 update, which we're talking about the effect that our language has on us. The doctrine itself can repair damaged DNA. The doctrine itself, but you have to let it in. You have to actually absorb it beyond the words, the meanings of it, the essence of it. Let that fill you, then repair the damaged DNA. So I know somebody might be saying, my DNA is not damaged. If you're not living by the rules of natural nature, the DNA is damaged. If you don't think or feel that it's necessary to do all the rituals that the Master Teacher has given us, the DNA is damaged. Because the thought that you have that stops you from thinking it's right to do, that's the defect in the DNA. Final forward year code, we're talking about the last 6,000 years and more prevalently the last 400 and some odd years of this forced introduction of alien DNA into our genomes, right? So that's what happens. When you vibrate, you burn that out. They become weaker and weaker until it dissipates, and all that's left is the self, the true you. And you grab that and run with it, because that will take you further than saying I'm going to do a caution of looking for, as the Master Teacher calls it, spiritual shortcuts. It's no such thing. No such thing. Not for a successful end. We have to put in the work. Put in the work.
Daily.
Daily, exactly. Exactly. You should feel a little way sometime if you miss a chant. Not to the point of saying, oh, I'm going to punish myself, but just to affirm you're going to make the next one, right? You should actually feel that way. And if you have that feeling, that means you're resonating the way you should. That's why, otherwise you wouldn't give it what? A second thought. Forget that. We had to move on first thoughts. First thought is the natural thought. The second thought is the one you had to reason out why you didn't do a thing, or why you should do a thing that may not be in your best interest. But if you make the link with your Nisabu, your relatives, while they're here, and when they transition, they, like Zavar Capri was saying, they can actually come and guide you on this and that side. Now you become a true universal being. You're not limited to what you have learned thus far. They can actually come and guide you. It then becomes part of your intellect and outellect to even hear them by way of the baton. It opens up to the higher dimensions, like I said earlier. Don't be afraid to see home. Don't be afraid to see the planes of existence from which you originate from. There is no fear in Wu-Sabat. There is no fear. You should not be afraid of anything, even learning that you need to correct yourself. No fear. You have any other questions?
Ra Kwame Ray Sata.
Rabat.
Rabat, what is the difference between planes and dimensions?
Verbiage. Literally, it's just the verbiage, right? So like this, let me give you an example, Zamal. We now live or reside on the physical plane, correct? What dimension is this? First, second, or third? You said third?
Yeah.
Correct. So there is no difference. Planes in existence. or planes and dimensions, or planes and abodes. Those are all terms used to describe different places and spaces in matter and time. But the only difference is the physical plane will not exist on the spiritual plane. But the spiritual dimension is still a higher abode. You see how I can use all three to finish the sentence. So when you're talking about what's the difference, there is no difference. They have different terms to express the same thing, and it may attribute different meanings of it when you listen to it and understand that a plane is a dimension. Why? Because it has vibrations, moods, and density. All three have that. No matter which plane you're on, there still exists a mood or mode, vibration, and a density level, which identifies or categorizes each one of those spaces or abodes. And we have 9 abodes, and they all have different spins and rotation rates, as we were talking about of a shadow. So there's no difference between a plane and a dimension. It's just how a person wants to relate that information. All right? I pray that helps.
Does that include tones and vibration?
Yes, because on each plane or dimension or abode has its own resonating tone. It has a minimum and a maximum vibration. Once it passes that maximum vibration, you're now moving seamlessly into the next plane or abode or dimension, right? So like spiritual beings, the reason we can't see them because they vibrate just fast enough to beyond what the physical eye can capture. But when you get to open up the Patak, you can actually see these other planes, meaning what? The real eye. You see the real world around you, and you'll actually see some of these beings. And when they see that you see them, sometimes they're getting away. But how are you going to react? You know, you can't act surprised. Why? Because you can see it now. That's a gift. There's many people on the physical plane that may never experience that until they transition. Then it's all new to them. But if you're able to, develop a range of spirituality, just a couple more points or speed or lessen the density, you're becoming lighter, and you can see beings who take a lighter space or matter, and even antimatter matter. Antimatter for that matter. Yeah, that's the difference. You know what I mean? So each plane or abode of existence has a parameter or limit of how slow or fast it can be. Then you have the next plane, which would be faster. So a person on a lower or slower plane of existence can't take what makes that person there. The only thing that can transcend all of those is the mind. A mind can go through physical, because you have thoughts, spiritual, because you're conscious of what you did when you were physically. On the soul, was conscious of spiritual constructs that you let go, because now you have nothing tying on the plane of the soul. And then when you go past that, you have the mental plane. And we heard earlier in class, that's where you can literally, I can hear everybody's course, or one of you can hear everybody's course in this room. Now, you can control that through mastery and repetition to say, I'm going to block out this because I'm really just communicating with my Zamartat right there. And then we can look at each other and we both start laughing. And then you go, what happened? It was an inside joke. It was inside us speaking telepathically or teletai, and as you said. All right, I pray that to address the question. Do you have more questions? So,
Can we get a cross-reference of where else, other than is Jesus God, that Baba talks about the sapphire skulls or sapphire stone?
Yes, if you go to the beginning of the Akasha records, the Master Teacher talks about all the lead stones in different colors. There are 24 in total. So yes, you can actually go to the Akasha records and read that. We talked about it. Now, the building is how it's about.
Records?
Yes,
Yeah.
they got
He just saw locations.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This is logical. How much is this Jesus God?
That was 25. Also, Cam, can you look to your left? See next to the Psalms, the language book, the green language book?
Yes.
Take that, give that to the other. Yeah, so he get his practice on. Let me find that portion that talks about the reed stones.
So the meat stones and the sapphire scroll are the same?
Well, the scroll there is a record, and the stones are records of this. Which is back when is Jesus God came out, right? If you read that, it's Jesus God. It talks about these pages that blew away, right, when Adam was revealed. And then before that, it actually speaks about the difference. And all those scrolls, they were literally stones. Right. So inside the stones were the scrolls, but they followed them the physical saying it blew away. So it doesn't mention scrolling here, but it does talk about the stones that keep the records.
Right, because in there he was talking about, you know, the sapphire stones, the blue, the ruby.
Yeah, Bobby gave a whole breakdown of it.
Yeah, and the emerald.
Right. So
But I was wondering, does he talk about it in another book as well?
not as stones, not as scrolls.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, not as scrolls.
Okay, so in the Akasha records, you are talking about what?
He's saying right here. He's first talking about his stone, his me stone, on verse 203. I came to know it was my own seat. It was for a disc, a personal yard, me stone. But I'm looking for where this mention that it's 24 though, too. Thinking it's this scroll. I'm pretty sure it was this. If I don't find it now, I will find it, and I'll say it, and I'll give it to you as well. I'm pretty sure it was this one, though.
Yes, personals.
Okay, in the Akasha records, let's go to I'm gonna read verse 13 till about 20. So verse 13, the master teacher Baba Yadun says, the Dayar Nawatat me stones are a techno-magical formula. 14, they are luminous discs, much like computer discs used today. 15, the Anunnaki use these mysterious illuminated discs that is inserted in the device to project visions and sounds, aura of power, and divine formulas on all known things in 4D, the first pornography. 16, Pa Kasha Sajal at the Akasha records, or, see, this is what he's tying in, the Akasha records, or Dayor Nawat's at me stones, are what endows their owner with specific facts, formulas, diagnosis, prescriptions, specifications, and recipes to elixirs of long or extended physical life. 17, there is a magical power to the Akasha records or Akasha me stones, and there's also a technological aspect to the divine positional formula. 18, they are programs using databanks. 19, each Lawan color managing a specific task here on planet sector 4. And I'll stop at 24, verse 20. Verse 20, there were 24 Dayar Nawat me stones. So again, if anybody has that scroll, they can read from like 13 up to 20. Your kid, he's talking about prescription, recipe, things like that. Now he's giving us the hereafter point, and not just papers, but there are actually stones that you can actually get this exactly. You can read that. What else? What else is like that, y'all? Not just the me stones, but what else can we give and get information from? That's not a book.
DNA.
DNA, definitely the decision for the mother to the child. But also crystal, right? And you hold a crystal,
Oh, yeah.
and it vibrates, and it still.
I thought that fell under stones. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a stone, but it's not a me stone.
Yeah.
You can make it one,
Right.
right? You connect with that crystal,
Especially the quartz crystal.
it's more powerful, very much so. So you connect to the crystal, it connects to you. Now imagine you went to an authentic crystal shop, where it's not bad produced, they were dug out, natural minerals, et cetera, right? Say you went to one last week. It's a place in Arizona, I think it's called Sedona. I have to ask my sister.
Yeah, yes, Sedona. Good for me.
They have these mystical places.
Yeah.
So let's say you went there last week and you got your crystals. The crystals only new to you because you got it last week. cried last week, you didn't have it. However, this crystal was in the earth, say, for eons.
Yeah.
And crystal was gathering data or information for eons. But when you get it and make the crystal yours, and it vibrates and a stimulation between you and it, you can send your thoughts to the crystal, but the crystal can also open up like a clam per se and yield all the pearls that it has. That is true black magic, right? And we had to be willing to do that, to learn these things about ourselves. Not saying run out by crystals, because you want to make sure you get authentic ones and not the mass-produced ones from Kmart or wherever. Her name is Christy. It's not a Christy. That's the salesperson. So we're talking about getting real crystals, rubbing it. You can read that in Tones DNA, was spooked out mentioned. Tones DNA, molecules, vibrations, vibrational frequencies. It explains that for about 3 pages in that scroll. The master teacher, Bobby Anun, is giving us the wisdom on how you can activate and actually exchange information and affirmation with this crystal. That's yours. And once you do that, that's not something that you go and brag about or let somebody else touch it. They can disrupt that. Same way when we mix our seed with those outside of our race, we're disrupting the connection with the etheric parents that we have. I pray that's just the question. Go ahead and move down into this.
Real quick, that spade crystal is the quartz. That's the way I'm talking
That's what the
about.
Martech just said. Yeah.
That's what they use to build the pyramids.
Right. I'm a little biased. I like the onyx. Well, I mean, the quartz is powerful, definitely powerful.
I think one in my pocket every day.
See, there you go. Yeah, my sister sent me one. She lived
I
on.
like the city. This looks like
Again, it's like an onyx. Exactly. Yeah. Is Martech, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, talking about crystals. Can you re-explain the crystal skulls? I remember it was like years ago mentioned the update.
Yeah, I don't.
That off my
I don't remember what else was in that update. Do you have the update on that? The crystal skulls?
Boys, they're found around the world. They call them
And the whole information. Exactly.
that's when they put they made an Indiana's dress.
Of the crystal skull, right?
He said that's 24 of them.
24.
Egyptian around them.
Yeah. I'm looking.
Souls is connected to it. Yeah, Saturn. Exactly.
On to an extraterrestrial being.
There was a time of like being big talk about a lot in news and media, and that's what popped up. I
Exactly.
don't remember exactly.
I'm going to check this real quick just to see if Baba spoke about it at all in here, which is again, astro fact number 18, tone, sound, DNA molecules, the vibration frequencies. Yeah, I think he touched on it, but I want to let's see if we can find it real quick. Step, pussy, images. And in this book, yes, the master teacher Bobby Unknown uses it as a figure, quartz. Quartz crystal with reference to the 52-degree angle for those that know. Okay, so I'm gonna start on verse 47, just to give an introduction of what we're talking about. The master teacher Bobby Unknown says, we, ancient Marebu Tamarayans, match the angles of this great communicating crystal. 48. This very angle is a natural angle that can be created with the use of a circle and a plumb line. 49. This was the method we ancient architects of sacred geometrical buildings used to square the circle. 50. And it produced an almost 52-degree angle. 51. That worked beautifully on every level and is mathematically perfect, direct for nature or Fondadala. 52. This wondrous natural mathematical workings and them being real and physical. 53. And then he talks about the physical construction, which leads to quantum communication. So any physical construction that would aid the quantum communication would have a magnificent mathematical pattern. Then on verse 54, now it's time to have a look at the workings of this and the use of the quartz. Quartz crystal begins its existence deep within gas. I don't see what they about the skull, so this will read up a little further. Let's see why. Yeah, It doesn't mention, Massey's doesn't mention that about this, the crystal skull. I do remember that, but I don't remember if there was any other builds on that. So yeah, I have to check. I'm not sure. I don't think I'll bought anything else. Other than how the Massey talk about the crystal is known as a quantum, is verse 64. The crystal is a known quantum converter that is able to transmit energy in a magnified state. And this energy can easily be absorbed or received by biological matter, such as your physical body. 65, and I'll stop there. So, the crystal is formed by way of spiraling motion and is a known quantum converter, transmitting energy, information, and information, or intellect and outellect at a magnified state. But if I don't see anything about that skull, that's something we could definitely look, see if there's other buildings going.
If it is the crystal skull, crystal.
Yeah.
I'm very up.
That's right.
It's called the face Pittsburgh.
There were actually skulls that
Found
around the world.
on
Where
world.
he said you too.
Yeah, yeah. So they definitely took that up as well. Any one of us that we're all students of the master teacher. So if anybody finds that, share it and we can share it with the class and with the multi. All right. We have any other questions?
Son Ra.
Okay, roll back.
So if we are not supposed to desire, do this mean it's bad to have recreational sex?
Okay, good. Yes. You just said it. You said yes. I said yes. And the reason I say that, Siobhan, because the term that you use explains how detrimental it is. You said recreation. Recreation. Sex. If you just want sex for the sake of sex, then you're not trying to pass on the divine gene. You're just trying to exercise physical stimuli. Why? Because you were physically attracted to something. You didn't look beyond that person's body and say, I want to share me with them on a level that will bring forth a God. If you read soulmate, that's the perfect union. When you find somebody that's vibrating and is beyond physical sex. Now, is that to say that you and your mate can have intercourse as much as you like, as long as you're not harming each other? No, I'm not saying that. That's perfectly fine that y'all have that. That wouldn't be called recreation. That's still called love and passion. But when you're talking about recreation, sex is not bound to you and your partner. It's bound to whoever physically excites you after whatever it is that aroused you. The tight jeans, the tight shirt, the pretty eyes, the tone that that person may have just spoke to you. If that excites you to the point where you want to give up your semen to her or to him, and he wants to do the same to you, that's recreation. You're just doing that just to gyrate, sweat, bug buggies, and exchange that person's energy could be horrible, but the physical aesthetics of that person can be so attractive, which is a distraction. And that's why we have distractions on this planet now. They want to distract you there so you can't find your way there. So yeah, I mean, as hard as that may sound, as we spiritually develop, we no longer lust and have that sexual desire just with anyone. Because we're going to value ourselves, i.e. genetic kiss. Please read that. And if that don't set you straight on how you should be very selective with whom you share yourself with. Because we're better than that. To recreation. We're here to put further creation to perfection. We have to find that person, and when we get together, we're going to create something perfect. And that will not come by way of recreational sex. All right? I pray that answers your question. Yes, spoke out that.
You said recreation.
Yes.
Oh, what it does is direct you.
Right.
This messes you up
Exactly.
to genetic and whoever you mess with after you mess with that person, passing that on to someone else.
Right.
May not be a part of that recreation that's going on. In
Right, that could be a good person that you're ready to make something meaningful with, but you got all that other spiritual energy tagging along with you. Yeah, exactly. So, no, we're just, with this, we have to move to the state where we're beyond anything that's associated with recreation. That makes you literally go against the natural nature. Because you just say, I want to just do what I want to do with this person. And then, if you are, not you, son Rob, but anybody, if you become so comfortable with that term or with the activity associated with recreation, sex, right? If you become so comfortable, then it becomes an addiction because you can say, I'm going whenever and wherever, and it doesn't matter with who. So now you are introducing yourself to whoever that person, and if they share that same mindset and they just was with 2 other people 2 days before they were with you, you're talking about 60 plus her 30. That's 90 spiritual energies aggressing your body. And if you're that way, you're giving that person up to 90 or more. You see? And that's recreation, because if you contract something and now you're unable to have healthy children, and now you have to live with that reality, you just recreation and didn't mean it. You just accepted the term and activity. So let us all graduate that type of thought and just move on to what we're actually here to do. What we're here to do is to perfect ourselves. All right? I'm going to address the question. Any other questions? Okay.
Yes, bro. All right, rock by me. Rock by me, Ray Satak. Yes, roll back. So roll back. The master teacher is our savior and or Messiah before the here and after doctrine. He, Dr. Malachi York, aka Partner Valley Anun, would say he is the forerunner for the Messiah to prepare the way. So, does that still stand? Is there another to come? Is the other to come us or another individual, Ray Har Akat?
Right, that now, Ray Har Akat was the name of the being that Bob was speaking about for years. Is he still to come? I haven't heard that that's changed. However, in recent conversations, the master is also saying he is the Black Messiah for us. You see what I'm saying? So they both can be true. I just haven't heard anything that contradicts what was taught before in that regard. There was some, I'll call them lessons that we call the daughters and the sons of the spring. They were entitled to pen. In those, the master teacher clearly defined it. He says he is a Messiah type. He is that. Now, when we're going through, what was that called? The degrees of, I think it was factology versus theology, and leave my stuff alone. He did mention, he said, don't call him like Jesus. Don't look at any of those terms. He said, because that's limiting. He says, I'm God. And he's teaching us that we're God. So even the Savior who is to come, which I'm talking about, Ra Kat, if he is still to come, as the master teacher was teaching, he too will be a God, or will be a deity. So I haven't read anything that contradict that's still taking place. But the master teacher is here now as our Savior. So the Messiah in its true measure, the definition of the word means an anointed one. And that would, the master teacher would fit that wholeheartedly. 100% would fit that. All right? You just can't get caught up and start thinking in terms that will kind of tunnel vision where it can't be one and if it's nothing, it's the other. It can't be that way. It's one is here now. And if the other is to come, we have to raise and prepare for that. That's the first step. Are we doing that? Not saying you, not saying him or you, but collectively, are we actually get prepared to do those things? And if so, then that other one can come. Right? Well, listen, this is 2025. 2030 is a true great dreadful day. We're experiencing a lot now, but what about that great dreadful day? Are we prepared for that? And if I find anything else, the more to go we talk. So if I find anything else, I'll definitely give you bills on it. But I haven't heard that Messiah that the master taught about has it changed. Now, what if, and we'll just continue the conversation, what if the master teacher says, I am him? Because he has incarnations all the time. Once he says, I'm here now. I am here. How many people going to accept that? How many people really mean it when they say, I walk with the master wherever he goes? Right? We have to walk with patience and learn with loyalty. If we do that, we'll be fine. But if I come into any other information that changes that teacher and the master teacher, I'll definitely let you know. All right? I pray that addressed it as far as I can take the question. Any other questions? Okay.
This one, Peaceful Journeys.
Raul Bassamortat, how you doing?
Oh, she said, can we see the future or past in the crystal ball, or is that a myth?
No, it's not a myth. You can. So you say crystal ball, but we'll just say the crystal, right? I don't know about the crystal orbs and balls unless you have a crystal in the shape of the orb. In that crystal, there's affirmation and information, and just read, intellect and outellect. So when you make contact with your crystal, one that you had, and y'all are beginning to transfer information back and forth, you'll be able to see everything that crystal has in its data. It will be your information now, your alternation. If that entails things in the future, because remember, we talk about then, now, and then, it's still one stream. You will have, some of us will spiritually develop, we can look in either direction, visit in either direction. If you read the Atomic, the master teacher said that. When you learn to master that, or learn how to bend time, space, you can go to the past. And you can also go to what's being termed as the future and see these things. Now, once you do, and you accept that because you see it, and it's real to you, no one else can say it's not, because you've experienced that. The difficulty will rest in trying to share that with people. Because the master teacher told us everything that's happening now in the year 2000 book. He told us everything in the Millennium book. He told us many things in the Man from Planet Risk, and it's happening now. So, did he see a future? Did he come for the future? The answer would be yes to both. So you, again, not a crystal ball like how they had the seances and all of that. I don't ascribe to that. I have great knowledge on the crystal ball in that regard, but the crystal itself, if you happen to have one that's been naturally formed into an orb, and is yours, and you make contact with that for stimulation, it says the crystal can actually be absorbed by biological matter, meaning the physical body. That will be you, Zumartat, and you'll be able to see everything or all the knowledge that that crystal has. And if this crystal that's not made from air per se, then yet you do actually have the ability to see everything that the crystal has experienced. That's a hit. That's definitely a hit. I'm afraid I answered your question. You have any other questions?
This question from Kwame Al-Ati.
Yes, raw bad business.
So is it best to get rid of our crystals you get at the store, and they get real ones from nature?
Personally, from family to family, that's the only ones that you should have. Unless, again, go to places like Sedona, Arizona, or places where you know they are naturally collected, not just saying it on the label. That the Christmas should not come with a barcode. Put that way. And if out of these stores, if you already purchased crystal, I know you can bear witness to this. A lot of these stores literally put the SKU or the barcode on the crystal. Now they zapping it before you pay for it, right? And it's another way to tell if the crystal is more from nature as opposed to being mass produced. If it's cylindrical or perfectly shaped, how did it come from?
Oh, yeah.
You see, what I'm talking about? How did that come from nature? And you bought 12 and they're identical, with all different flavors or colors, as they say. That might not be the most natural type. It could have been at one point, but they stepped in and modified the same way they do with our food. They want to put their imprint on it. And in that can be one of the hindrances that you may find when you're trying to connect this crystal. Something is done to it that will prevent it from being absorbed by you as a biological matter. So yeah, I would definitely, if you have an eye for crystal, go to those wildlife parks and stuff like that. You may actually find one. Now, if that was the case, not saying all of us can do that, but let's say that was the case, right? Wouldn't you know 1,000% that came from nature?
Yeah.
You have
It's the best way, unless you know somebody personally, or
Right.
I know somebody personally, she digs, her
She
crystals
did.
from Arkansas.
Okay.
She sells them.
Right.
But that's but this specifically quartz, third quartz crystals.
Right.
But I have a lot of crystals, but it's best get the raw ones.
Okay, so
If it looks empty, like the jagged, raw,
Right.
not uncut, not
Right.
smooth,
Right. Right.
you can better
Okay.
get
So they
a
get
grasp
the ones
on
that
that.
go
That's
raw.
supposed like to be peeled and smooth. Bring
right,
it
they're good aesthetically and look cute and can match your clothes. But you're talking about get the raw ones, get the raw ones as best you can, and do the research from where you purchased it from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just do the research of the person.
It's got lines where you can go a little line.
Take tours and go in and dig for yourself.
You can dig it.
Yeah, why not? Why not invest in that too as well? Everyone cannot for whatever reasons, but if you're able to, yeah, get the raw ones or go to those mines where they actually let you dig them yourself. You excavate. It's a little part of the whole connection process from the beginning of it to the time you take it home and make it yours. I pray that helps you. You have any other questions?
Yeah. It's from Milton Richard.
Yes, Ramek.
So the scriptures in the Bible,
Right.
I think it is in the Psalms of David,
Okay.
that says, ye are God, ye are all gods.
That's right.
Is that applicable to all Nagados? And can people recognize the gods on this planet, no matter what state they are in?
Okay. So to address that first, Psalms really translates as what? Psalms, right? So in Psalm 82, verse 6 is where it says, is it not, ye are gods, but are the children of the Most High. In principle, that is a fact. That is a fact, because we are deities, and yet we're the sons and daughters of elder deities, correct? So yes, that would be a fact. When you say all Nagaru, I would have to say no. Only reason I would say that is because all Nagaru are not of that lineage to be that, or they have their DNA invaded by others and it dropped so low that they won't recognize the activated gods that may still be within them. Some of them are actually 6 ether children who happen to be melanated, insofar as they will not be able to transcend to the higher realms, the 7th, 8th, and 9th abodes, which will entitle them to deityship in full, 100% therein, as it were. So if you don't have the genetic predisposition to actually activate the deity within you, you may be able to mimic for a while. So I wouldn't say all, because not all Nagaru will accept this doctrine. So those that don't accept it, even if they have a thought or a deity in them, it's dormant. And if you don't use it, you lose it. You can actually lose those principles or those properties within you. So again, in technically the statement is accurate. It's only accurate to those who it applies to and apply it. You have to actually acknowledge that you're a deity, and mean it and know it, and not make a supposition and not say, oh, that sounds good. Then you say that. And then I act another day. The minute you accept that knowledge of yourself, you're now responsible to conduct yourself in that way. And as a deity, there's certain things that you do for the betterment of others as opposed to doing it just for yourself. So it all depends on the person who wants to find that within themselves. And that's the work that we have to do on ourselves. So it doesn't apply to all Nagaru, unfortunately. I pray that answers the question tomorrow. Any other questions? No?
Mark Hassan said, Rabat we saw,
Oh, Robert, Zamal.
and once one loses those qualities, would that render them committed?
That's a good term. They can be used by being, see what happens is, let's say you lose all of those deity qualities. You've accepted disagreeable. You've accepted 6 ether mentality, right? Now, when you accept that, guess what happens? That means you drop from 9 to 8, 7 to 6, and even lower. Once you drop to 6, those beings who dwell and rule on the lower level or the lower realms can now grab you, and you won't have a defense against them because you accepted that way of thinking, that mentality. And if that occurs, guess what? Yes, you can become a servant of theirs. There are people now walking around that are actually servants of them. And if they're the God, we have a term, it will be called what? Black devils, right? Or there's some who are the descendants of a Pactus, or the pack, who are 6 ether, but are melanated. So yes, you would actually, listen, the key to us, the existence we have right now, is to rule yourself, to master yourself on this plane. And then you can serve on the other planes until you become a master of that plane, or that abode, or that dimension. So, yes, you will become a minion because you're no longer living by the rules of natural nature. Therefore, you can be subjected to the rules of chaos. You either have order or you have chaos. You choose which one you want to be in. And because you were not naturally a member of chaos per se, now you're new to that. And those who rule that state or that level of existence will torment you. They're the ones that have war games that you're not even aware of. They're the ones who will possess you. And if you keep doing their bidding, they won't leave because it's comfortable that they can use you. These disagreeable spirits will be able to use your physical body to stimulate the feelings that they want all along that they can no longer have. You become the vessel for them. So yes, in that aspect will be a minion. Yes. Let us all avoid that. Oh, okay. Also, towards Amal's question, Don Mary about Mary gave the 13th disciple, as you read in verse 90, let's go with 98, when Master Teacher Bobby Anu says, these are the days of truth to be exposed, to be revealed. 99. Now, the Master Teacher explained in Friday the 13th is called a bad luck day because the church wished to cover up. So in 98, Master Teacher said what's going to be exposed is going to be revealed. What? That they tried to cover up something. That the 13th apostle or disciple, who was Jesus' own wife, and was uncovered in the newly found Gnostic Gospels. So if you want to find out information about that, you would seek out the Gnostic Gospels, wherein they actually wrote that she was a student of his. As his wife, would she learn from him naturally and become that 13th one? That's his natural. When you're in a home with somebody, y'all teach and learn from each other. But because this being called Jesus at this time was the most intellectual being on the planet, she had all the knowledge right in the house. So of course he's giving her bills. And because of that, she became a student or an apostle or disciple of this. The 13th one that they don't talk. Why? Because one, the church is trying to cover it up. And two, the Bible, the Quran, the Old Testament, Quran, New Testament, and the Quran, right? They're all male chauvinistic books. They're written from the premise of male chauvinism. Nowhere in there did they ever acknowledge the greatness of the woman. They don't. So she would never get a knowledge of that. In fact, it was the same day that they tried to stone. They want to hit her with rocks. So yeah, she's not going to get this. They ain't going to tell you who she is. But yet she was used as what? A messenger to tell them something that they didn't know, which my Zamal read. So again, look for the Gnostic Gospels where there been verses or will be verses about her relationship to him. Which in here they never say. In the Bible they never say that was his wife. They never mention that. Cover up. So yeah, you look into that scrolls tomorrow, you'll see that they talk a little bit more about her role and one of his apostles. Or students. That's another way of saying the apostles of school. Disciple. You're teaching me. I'm learning from you. Same thing. Same thing. Any other questions? Like you saw?
So,
Yes, move data.
yeah. Back to that center question again. We're up in center. It's concentration group
It's a concentration.
tour.
All right. Give me one moment so I can find that right quick.
Yep.
Everything is Bruce said before.
And then one more is that. Yeah, one more. All right, I got you. I'll come with you, Mutel. What you got?
Page 11, verse 86. We probably could start with the line. It's your call.
It's verse 86 and 5. All right, so what you got?
Want me to read it or you read it?
Yeah, where do you want me to start from? I want to read it, but start at 85. Okay, 85. All right, so verse 85. The master teacher Baba is teaching us about you. So he begins with the you is what each person seeks in this world of confusion. And there are many that whisper into your being. 86. The human devil has kept you off your center, distracted by all he offers you of food, fun, and pleasures. Right? See what I'm saying? So the center means you have to be grounded into who you are. That's the center, right? Why? Because each of us are the center of our own universe. And everything emanates from us outward. But they can have you moving up the center instead of saying everything emanates from me and this is my universe. You want to mimic other things. When you have like the other than chip, you're off your center because you're no longer grounded into the deity that you are, but you want to actually live in the image after the likeness of someone who's lesser than you. That's a distraction. Food. If you can never pass that bakery without ordering that cake, you're off your center, right? If you can never not skip a Friday to go to the club or wherever you want to go because you find a certain stimuli with the male-female dynamic, you like that. Or the pleasures that can come in form of all types of things, mainly reproduction, sex, mainly this gives me pleasure. Whatever it is, I just want to do that. If you do that, guess what? You're not in the active participation in the sense of yourself or spiritual development. You're not. So where the planet shifts, where the planet makes its dimensional shift, and you're supposed to shift with it, you're supposed to uptick with it, you're too distracted that you don't even feel the difference in the vibration of the planet, much less yourself. That's what the master teachers refer to. You have to be centered at all times when you know, I am the deity of my universe. There's nothing externally that could push me off of what I know I need to do to develop myself, right?
So that's like what the book was saying earlier with our desires.
Correct.
You got to know yourself.
Right.
And stay centered to knowing you, and you got to know that these outside things are distractions.
Right.
And it's deep by you say food, fun, and pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a foodie unless you just never. We all love food. But how about how our culture says we should eat light meals? If you eat light meals, you're centered. If you're doubling up on the double max and all of that, that's all centered. You're being distracted for what? You're actually falling in love with the seasoning. Because if you ever ate any type of food and didn't season it, tastes like ankles, tastes like all types of stuff that's unpleasant. So the seasoning, right? But now, here's the trap. The seasoning is to entice you to emit a certain aroma because the seasoning is what the bloodlust beings want. So the less you incorporate that into your body and you really just eat light, nutritious meals. It's very hard to fast. In our culture, we fast the first 3 days of the month and the day that you were born on. So that's literally once a week and then 4 times during that first weekend of the month. Follow that? So we're doing that, guess what? You're centered. Because you're developing that we talked about earlier, dietary discipline, centered. Right? So another way to look at center is when we learn to chant or meditate, you're centered. When you're meditating, you have to start on focusing on something that you know you can draw into your eyesight, your mind's eye readily. Then you can actually let that go so the mind can take you to a place you've never been before. When you chant, you must be at the point where you can literally feel your breath as you're doing it. When you inhale, when you exhale, and then you do it with others, we all link up and become one. Harmony and unison at the same time, right? So that's being centered. If I was to come amongst you all and y'all are chanting and I throw y'all off, I'm the distraction. And I pull everybody off the center. But if I'm on my center, it's 2 things I will do. One is to make sure I'm aligned with you all or not come at all. Because something may be agitating me. And I want to pull you off of your center because I feel it's Thursday and I want to come and chant even though I'm mad about something. For me to make that decision, I'm going anyway. And I say things like, yeah, I'm going to go because when I get there, they're going to heal me. That's the voices on verse 87.
Nice verse.
Yeah, Yeah, that's the voice, right? That's the next verse. 87. He offers you his Sawat voice, his Lawanat colors, his sound, his Tanatapat emotions, his Tatat beliefs in place of your own. So anything that replaces your own takes you over the center. That's what Bob was talking about. Yeah, it's center. Learn your own voice so that when he comes around to give you his sound, it's not your sound. And then you learn how to block it. You psych yourself defense. I see you, whoever it is. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. Leave me. That's what a deity does. You can expel them from your universe. Get out of here. I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? Why would I, I see this person get ready to drop their bag, whatever, let me just trip them. That's not your voice. Your voice should say, yo, you okay? Can I help you? Even if they refuse it, you will sense it to be a helper.
Sure.
That's what we are, helper deities. Beginning with helping ourselves to raise up spiritually, but then we pass that energy of love on to others that will accept it from you. Now, let's say you try to do that to a Nagaru, and as one of the previous questions was, you try to do that to the Nagaru, but they've lost that empathy or that compassion that they have naturally, and they get aggressive with you, but you're only trying to help them. What's making them so aggressive to you? That's them with a walking who doesn't like you. There's something inside of them. One of their 30 spirits may have been just a disagreeable being, and they don't like the fact that you stay agreeable all the time. That could be one of them that comes to go, "Roll back, that's my man." But inside they go, "I sure hope something happened to him because I need that energy that he or she will give me because they're Earth, emotionally or whatever." That's how that works. They always come to in place of your own, and you become out of your mind and inside his mind, thinking like him and thinking it's your own original thoughts, literally out of your mind. That's verse 88. So yeah, when we talk about that center, it's important to stay like that.
To it.
Right.
And that part, I like again, which is my favorite self, they can you the 30 voices. Right?
Facts.
I feel them get down to at least 5, I know.
Right.
So it's 25 more. I think they're fading relative to this kind of thing. So it's like 5, I'm really getting to go to.
You got to start at 5?
Huh?
You got to start at 5?
Start my 5.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
The good, bad, the ugly,
Yeah, right. Right. So at least you can identify it. That's the point. We had been to identify every other voice that's not our own. But first you got to learn your own. Right? You have to learn your own. And that's where the altars that communicate with other souls become very important. Because you can ask the eldest feminine relative to tell you which ones are not right for you. She can actually bring all of them to you. She's the protector of you even in that realm, because she's the eldest feminine, who is what? The record keeper of your lineage. She knows who's a goofball, who's the cornball, who's the disagreeable one. She's not going to use those terms. That's us on this side. But you may have to use that term. Uncle Joe is a cornball. So when I hear cornball sound, that's them. Auntie so-and-so, she's very aggressive. She's real forceful. So I'm going to use what's forceful? If I can hit with a brick, that's force. Bricks are brown. Auntie get it brown. You have to, whatever works for you, so you can identify them when they come to you with they already inside. That's why you think it's your fault. You follow that?
Okay, so we put all of that together with as far as that one grandmother also that's the record keeper and that can point out the rest of the bad guys.
That from the bill that Baba gave us, or set up your altar.
Okay.
Right, you ask the oldest ones, you have pictures, etc., etc.
Okay.
The record keeper comes out of the sacred, the notice of life, sacred feminine. She's the record keeper. That's why you're supposed to protect our daughters, because whatever enters her matrix, mom and the mathematics, her matrix, right? Whatever comes, she incorporates that, adds to it, that then replicates it. As such, when she becomes a spiritual being, she's the one who's been keeping the records of all those who came from her. So if she's 5 generations down, you think she can't tell you about the 30 that have been assigned to you? She's seen them come. So she can tell you, yeah, bing, blah, blah, blah. So she has to learn to accept her voice, especially if she's benevolent. Right? She's going to guide you right. And then what you need to do, again, the first step is to learn our own voice. So anything that doesn't sound like you, that's not your voice, that's not your center place of peace and bliss, right? That ain't you.
Good.
All right.
Well-
You guys have questions moved up, Tat? I'm sorry, I know you had your hand. She's like, go see. Don't see my forehead.
My great grandmother
Yes.
me, right? I only contact her one time. It's years ago. And she gave me, she didn't say anything, but I knew she always healthy.
Always healthy?
Always healthy.
Okay.
It was sickly.
Right.
So when she came, she was bleeding, like her tooth would. And I was like, I said, Mom, why your tooth bleed? And then she never said anything. She just stood there. And the funny thing about it, she didn't say anything, but I was just like upset because she was my great grandmother
Right.
who never was sick,
Right.
transitioned years ago, but her tooth was bleeding. So later on at night, I got up to go to the bathroom. And in the car, I showed my sister. And held up, I see blood. I woke up, I see blood tracking from the door to the bathroom in the tub. There was all out of blood in the tub and child. So I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking somebody got shot or whatever, and I'm just nervous, I can't go back to sleep. So I was like, but that was what my great grandmother was showing me. So she woke me, like, tried to tell me something. So then later on that morning, my sister called me. They were telling me that her and her husband was at this Christmas party. I don't know what he did, but somebody practiced it or something. They had 100 stitches. So he must have came home before he went to the hospital because that was everywhere.
Right.
And she was like, oh, he's in the hospital now. So it's like by me being afraid or whatever, she never came back.
She felt that. She felt that. What's that? Adrenaline. While you fight, maybe you saw that because we came to destroy. I'm not trying to interpret that or what you're saying to me. A lot of times, as the master teacher says, if they feel that uprising from you, they'll just chill and not say nothing. But another thing, in that same bill about the altars that Bob was talking about, he says, and learn to watch for the signs. So a lot of communication at first may not be verbal. It'll just be something visually, a sign. And that could have been what that was. You know what I mean? So I guess you were trying to tell you something. I'll take it to the other side and saying,
So I was afraid then, but how do I get that my great-grandmother would come back? But now I know, but back then, I didn't know, so.
call her. And in the same way how the speaking may do, it's nice and calm. You call her with that same energy. You know what I mean? And just be patient for her to come. And then when she does come, just be welcoming. If you welcome it to them, they're going to be welcoming to you. But because they understand the physical trauma that we may have about seeing someone who's crossed over, they wait to see what energy comes out when you see them. And then they react accordingly because they love you. They're not going to be like, boo! You know that? So some of them might, but most of them won't. You know what I mean? They have compassion for us where they don't judge us. You know what I mean? We judge ourselves sometimes. So yeah, I would just call her. Just be patient and watch for the signs. All right, we have any other questions? Have no? All right, I just want to read something from Initial Shift. And it's talking about us, how we were originally and how we are now. So, verse 238, the master teacher Bobby Amuna says the original Africans were souls, Etherians. 239, human body grew later as original immortals. 240, you, Negroids, were designed to transmute and ascend, not to die and incarnate. 241, originally there were 24 cycles of transmutation, which later became 24 reincarnation cycles of death and rebirth. 242, as the consciousness passed from one life to the next, the DNA would assemble so the soul or the Ba could learn its way on its Sarat, the etheric cord of evolution. This is all about the mission shifting now. 243. Now, with so much sickness, disease, and race mixing, the DNA strands are weakened, and many etheric cords or Sarat have become like a shakur, that is collapsed or closed. So that trick is no longer seamless. If they close all the way, that's a problem. If it's collapsed, it's a delay. At least it's a delay, at worst, it's closed. So now, excuse me, verse 244, many are cut off as a cosmos at 6 ether, which is what I was also talking about. Remove that and drop down when you become a minute. Yes, because you're cut off. If you cut off in 6 ether, you can't ascend 7 equal 9. And he really hit 9s get rate 100%. So 245. So now it's known you had 24,000 chromosomes on your DNA, 24 hours in a day. The final day and the third hour of night, 246. This is the master plan to transport and rescue the root race with Ba'athu souls formulated by Pagathalu, involve 9 higher morphogenetic spheres of Ku'u oversouls. 247. The morphogenetic field of consciousness, the 2 spheres of the 8 became the morphogenetic patterns for the Sabatu Enneads, who repressed the earthly or represented the earthly counterparts of the higher groups of 8, the Kamanu Adoads, who became the higher beings. And then above became the patterns for the next 5. So when the master teacher is talking about the master plan, the master teacher, the master plan is to what? Transport and rescue us, the root race. Those of us who still have our souls, who have not dropped down to 6 and below, right? So we have to take precious care that we don't drop. Our consciousness doesn't fall. We don't come comfortable with the ordinary. Why? Because even when we were originally, right, we were originally souls, etherians. Then it says, then Baba says, the human body grew later. So we were spiritual beings first, we were etherians first, right? Grew later, and even when we grew later, we were something else. We were not the ordinary. It says, the human body grew later as original immortals. So we were always immortals. Why? Who convinced us that we're just physical? Who told us that we're limited beings? And when we transition, that's it. So if we believe that, then isn't it, and I say believe because we need to know different, but if we believe that, then that will give reasoning to why many of us don't want to talk to our Nisabos and ancestors, because we think they're gone. Right? What are the common terms? Passed away. Oh, they left. No longer with us. That's delusion. That's not a part of us as immortals. It's yes. I was going to say this part about where it says that as a consciousness, it passes. The consciousness passes from one life to the next. The DNA would assemble so that the soul can learn its way on this Sarat of the third port of evolution. What are you evolving to? Talking about the soul has to learn its way. That's talking about when you transition and then you read in the cycles of life and death, you begin to learn all there is to know. That's how you can learn your way on the etheric core and not get pulled to one of the side avenues of the cortex. That's not the end of your DNA. If you get pulled to the side, that's another distraction. That will delay you becoming a 100% etheric, which you were originally. It says that we're original souls and etherics. You have to be that question.
Yeah, somewhere like a question.
Yes.
It's like when we transition.
Yes.
And I remember Baba had said you need transition. If you transition in a devastating way, trauma, you could cry behind it. You shouldn't cry if someone transition naturally, no diaspora, or no trauma to the chances.
Right.
So, as God, we seem to, because we've been told this by preachers when we said it all, by that it's wrong for us to call out or help. It's a thing with our own family members, but it is still, we pray to a white Jesus.
Which is a picture.
That is a picture, right? That someone that's supposed to have helped us during the time that we really need help during slavery, always said, but where was he then? Was he sick? Does he up? What was he doing? And everybody was suffering and scorching.
Is enjoying it. Real talk. It's six being needs to join that because we emit fear, sadness, and they subsist off of that. That's what he was doing. And that's why his job was not to help us because he's not for us, which makes all the more reason that we need to link to the master teacher. He's the guy. He is the guy. He is the master teacher to show us how and where we need to go. That's simple. That's why. That's why. Because we were given 9 ether energy to a 6 ether being who could care less. Because they knew as long as we're giving it to them, we're not giving it to our ancestors, we're not giving it to Natharu, who just created the soul and gave it to us. Right? With that, I'll pass the class. Mazamal Capri. Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Sleep.
Hey, Billy.
Sleep.
Wadu. That's my answer. One. All right, so let's see where we at. From Mark Hassan. Okay, so his question is, how many changes has there been in the language? That's the part. Look like he asked, has there been, he put in the language, how many changes has there been in the language? Has there been in the language of time book since I just retrieved at the 2.5 years? So he just got the language of time book. So he said, how many changes has there been in the language since that was first put out?
A lot of change. That's and stuff. He had an autography easy book after that.
1, 2, it grew, right? It's the be look at Simmons that he has. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly how many is to me.
Exactly.
There's been like, we don't know the number.
There. 3 parts.
The whole process is with all the changes is at least you're speaking. If you're going along with changes, at least you're speaking your unknown language. That's the whole thing. You know that leader was in the form. We look at other people's cultures. We see other people. We see them with languages, and we admire it. You look at an Asian speaking their language, we admire. And then you look at Russian or anyone who has a language, we admire. Some of this we have ours, and it goes through changes like any other language. So don't think that it's a new thing for a language to go changes. And all English will change, because even the English dialect that we speak right now,
right,
has been going through changes, but we don't really know it's right.
Right.
So, because no one comes out and be like, "Hey, you got to update on language in English."
That's right.
They just do it, and they do it.
That's right.
You know.
That's true. Yep.
So, a suggestion was made that go to your local bookstore, be updated in the language.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yes, we'll see. Okay. Robinson, what can you explain to Elder what is meant when we say Raubat?
Raubat? Okay. Well, it's our term for greeting. It's similar to how people say hello in English, but it actually means greetings in English.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. Marcus, is there any update or anything, because we always on the worldwide floor, they say, because it always want to hear any update. So I'm asking.
Do we got any updates?
There we say in the worldwide call at your bookstore if you have any updates. Ask the bookstores, how long do we have any updates?
No, I sort of could talk. Yeah, they say, honestly on the call that they're going to deliver to us. So all I do is ask, and then they say they have to, organize it or whatever. So we're going to wait with patience. So the answer to that would be, no, it's...
I mean, you're going to wait for...
I know, but, we're going to wait with patience. We would definitely read them when we get them. Mm-hmm.
See, I heard the answer.
He sort of, yeah.
You know, so there's no more questions. Just close our class. Nothing online, right?
No, wait. You got one more. Amal Milton said, when they speak of a veil between the physical and the spiritual realm, can you give him some clarity on that veil?
Who was they?
Good point. So, yeah, Amal Milton, when you say they speak of, is that who would be the they? Because we don't teach about a veil per se. Because a veil sounds physical. Back in the dance art was
I remember back in the days.
yeah,
Bobby used to say something about Murdoka Michael.
yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, that would be one of them. Oh, man. I said now it's nothing else.
Is that the veil that speak like the physical?
Physical and spiritual world. He's asking for some clarity on that.
It sounds symbolic.
Oh. Yeah, major symbolism.
That what separates this world from that world. So it's basically vibrational levels, real.
Yeah.
Come in a nutshell on frequencies.
Oh yeah. He said he's listening to his lecture to how hit him with that. And going once. Any more in the room? Y'all good? Your question out? You good? All right.
Okay. Since there's no more questions, thanks for coming out. Thanks to the family online. As a brother and more.